All right, welcome back, everybody. This is a one-off sort of special, I guess, instance of live here. I don't usually go live on Fridays, and I don't usually do it on a specific topic like this, as you can see. Just real quick, if you have not watched the video already, I'd recommend going to the description in this video. At the very top, I say some clarification is needed. Then that first link is going to be Nathan's review of my video. So that's the one I'll be playing. So the video is right there. And then his reply, my original video is going to be just linked right below that. So, all right. So I want to begin by saying thanks, Nathan, for reviewing this. I really appreciate the pressure on me. I mean, honestly, this is how we get better. So I consider Nathan a friend, and this is not to lambaste him whatsoever, but it is notice like I was very careful with the wording here. I'm not saying, oh, everything that's wrong about what Nathan said. I'm saying I need to clarify, right? So that's the purpose here, and hopefully I can do that successfully. Whether I do so or not is going to be well, I guess that's up to you. So, but I hope I will clarify that. So all right, without further ado, I'm gonna set this up to play right here in the corner. I'll have to scoot over and we'll just play it. Hopefully you can hear that. Let me make sure that that's actually visible on screen for you. It doesn't block me. Perfect. Okay, we're good. We are good to go. So let me roll this forward and I'll just stop it periodically and reply to it. So here we go. And I hope that you can hear that. Let me know if you can't hear this through the audio. I'll first have to unmute it. There we go.
Okay, now let me know if there's feedback from this.
To talk about intellectual virtue, or rather, a common intellectual vice that I believe. Okay, first, stop right there. So I've watched most of this video in its entirety already, so I know what he's going to say in general, and I'll give brief replies to each and everything, hopefully. But right there, I noticed that he was speaking over the intro. Maybe he had watched it before or whatever, but notice the very first thing I say in that video is we need to talk about intellectual virtue, or rather an intellectual vice. So already I've set it up as that is the focus of the video. All right. I know what the title says. I know what the thumbnail says. All right. That's to draw the viewer in. But the focus of the video, like if I had focused the video on this and then I had titled it, hey, let's talk about an intellectual vice, nobody would click on it. So I need the hook, and that was the hook, but I'm very, very, very clear in the very first thing I said that the video topic itself is about intellectual vice. Links together woke leftists on the one hand and ardent conspiracy theorists on the other hand.
So this is just to say, Derek McAllister, Catholic philosophy guy, I've called into his channel a few times and had good conversations. He does a call-in show quite regularly. He has a background in philosophy. I believe his PhD's in philosophy. I'm not sure what his thesis was on.
Yeah, that's right.
Or anything.
By the way, if anybody's curious, all that stuff is publicly available online. I don't lead with it. Yeah, I lead with a doctor, but even that, it's like anybody can call themselves doctor. But I put my academic site right in the description to my channel. So I think it's the very first link. But if you go there, you can go to my academic website, read about my dissertation, my publications, and all that. But anyway, just to say that's publicly available information if you'd like to see it.
And I will say that as far as apologetics goes, I think that by doing a call-in show, he's being pretty open. He is not particularly hostile or anything like that, like some apologists can be.
I appreciate that. Honestly, that's high praise for Nathan. And yeah, he has been on my show several times, actually. And he's a great friend. He's a great friend of the show. I consider him a friend that I've never met. Unfortunately, maybe one day I'm in the UK and we'll meet. But yeah.
So I think he's doing a decent job with regards to that. I do suspect that when it comes to politics, there may be some sort of not just disagreements, but blind spots where.
Now, I wonder why he says this, blind spots. I mean, we all have blind spots. That's absolutely certain. But are they blind spots because I have a doctorate in philosophy? Are they blind spots because I'm a Christian? The same charge could be leveled against anybody. Well, I could say Nathan has blind spots because he's British, with respect to American politics, let's say. Nathan has blind spots with respect to, I don't know, religion because he's not religious or something like that. So I'm not sure what this charge is supposed to function as, but let's keep going.
He is very sort of influenced by American MAGA right-wing politics.
That's actually not true. I'm a registered independent. I've never voted Republican in my life, just for the record.
And the way that these culture wars have been framed from an American perspective. And I think that that is going to color some of the perspectives he's going to offer. And maybe from his own point of view, because of the way that that culture war narrative has been constructed, he is going to view it as that this is like the Catholic position or the Christian position.
No. Actually, I do not think the MAGA right is the Catholic position or the Christian position whatsoever. I think the Christian position and the Catholic position is far superior to the MAGA position. It demands more of the individual and of society. So, and certainly not everybody in the MAGA right is Christian. That just goes without saying. I know that probably the majority of people are. I don't even know. I'd have to look at statistics, but maybe majority, like in the sense of over 50%. I'm not sure if it's even a large majority, but perhaps just because many Christians vote Republican. So there's a sort of an accidental correlation there. But yeah, as far as saying, oh, well, because I'm MAGA right, well, I'm not. This colors my position. Well, I do lean right on many issues, certainly moral issues, and with respect to other political issues, we don't have to get into. But economically, I like small government. And there are many things that I lean that way on, but I've never voted Republican in my life ever. So yeah, and just to say that this is coloring my views such that I think that position is the Catholic position. That's just very, very mistaken. So that's a serious correction I need to put out there into the world.
Something closer to that. So that's going to be the main place where I think I disagree with what he's got to say, but we'll see because I've not watched it yet. Camille is now here for people who have been eagerly awaiting. He's got a yogurt with honey. So he can add commentary, I think.
It's a vice we can call cheap intellectual superiority. But before we do that...
Okay. I feel like coming from a Thomist.
Okay, let's get into this. But first, notice again, within the first 15 seconds, I've already identified the central theme for this video. The central theme, right? So yeah, it's titled whatever. I mean, you see YouTubers do this. You see authors doing this, right? They'll, for example, C.S. Lewis has a piece in Abolition of Men called Men Without Chests, all right? That is a very mysterious title. Nobody really knows what it quite means until you get to the very last page. Fortunately for your sake, I didn't wait till the very last page to tell you, the very last minute or so, because people would lose interest, of course. But for Lewis, this was a lecture. He transcribed it into a chapter. Now you can read it. It's called, the book's called Abolition of Men. The chapter's called Men Without Chests. It's a very mysterious title, Men Without Chests. The actual central topic and issue and concept within Men Without Chests is value objectivism versus value relativism. But if he had titled it that way, hey, here's a talk, value objectivism versus value relativism, it would be lost on the listener. Nobody would go to that lecture. Nobody would read that chapter. It'd be really kind of heady stuff. So you want to put your material into a presentable form, of course. And I tried to do that. And I tried to garner attention with it. And I certainly did garner attention, which is evident. But in understanding the way things titled, you need to understand, like, okay, yes. And I do have someone in the chat here. Hold on. Right here. Boom. Oh, I thought you said related. My bad. So he had said, I thought he said that the two are related because that's right after the point in the video where I said they're related. Yeah, they are related. But so are many other things, and so the thing about drawing analogies, I could say, for example, that a rock and piece of metal are related, right? I'm not saying that they're the same thing, right? But I'm saying that they're related in some instance. Maybe their property that they share in relation to one another is that they're both hard. Maybe the property they share in relation to one another is that they're both, non-organic material. Maybe the property they share in relation with one another is that they're both objects that exist. So like just by saying that two things are related does not it doesn't mean anything until you know on what basis in which they're being related. And I've stated very clearly up front the way in which they're being related. So, all right, let's keep going. Okay, but now they seem to be, of course, they're inferring correctly here, and I appreciate this, that I am a Thomist. But I'm even Thomists will tell me, because I've met Thomists before who are actually academic, rigorous Thomists. They've told me that I'm not Thomist enough, so whatever that's worth. But I do consider myself Thomas Aquinas is my favorite philosopher, and the work I do in philosophy, I draw heavily upon Thomas Aquinas. So yeah, that's right. I am a Thomist. We do that.
Okay. I feel like coming from a Thomist, not, my point would be that if there is one group of people that are kind of consistently the worst people to engage with, particularly online.
That's the key, particularly online. There's a lot of self-describing Thomists out there who aren't academic Thomists or probably have never read Thomas Aquinas. So yeah, but the key word there is online, right? So like if you engage with anyone online, you're going to get bad behavior. I think that's just pretty clear. So why is it though that, let me see if I can find my book. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'll go grab it in a sec. So why is it though that Thomists are so prevalent? Okay, there's actually a reason for this, and it's in this papal encyclical. Should have grabbed it before. So it's a papal encyclical letter by Pope Leo the 13th. This is the Pope before our current Pope. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but yeah. Oh, sorry. There it is. It was retitled on the Restoration of Christian Philosophy. The actual official title here is Aeterni Patris. But again, goes to show that if you name something Aeterni Patris, which just means eternal father, which traditionally you would name things, encyclical letters, just after the first phrase in the encyclical letter. But republished, of course, it gets this title because it's much more descriptive, right? It's going to be people to buy it. In fact, I bought that little reprint here without even knowing that it was an encyclical letter. So, but yeah. So anyway, in this, I encourage you to read this letter. It's actually really, really interesting. But he goes through. It was written in 1879. He goes through all of the Christian thinkers of antiquity and medieval period. He's like, oh, what about Cyprian, Irenaeus, Justin Martyr, Quadratus, even these like really obscure names, Basil the Great, right? So, and then he gets to Augustine. He's like, Augustine was great. Augustine was like the most amazing thinker. He does a lot better at describing it than I do. And then he says, and then Augustine would have sufficed. He would have been the greatest. And then came along Aquinas. And then he just has glowing recommendations on Aquinas. Of course, like I said, it's 1879 in which he wrote this and published it. And, a little historical lesson. This is why you see a resurgence of Thomism in Catholic thought in the 20th century. So the reason why you see Thomists running around rampantly 150 years later is because of this. So if you're curious about that, you can go look it up. His glowing recommendation of Aquinas is not wrong. All the reasons he gives. It's not just, hey, taking him up upon my recommendation, I'm the Pope, but he has a lot of great things to say about the thinker.
But also in real life often, it's going to be Thomists, right? Because they sort of seem to think that if you make reference to a guy who lived a long time ago, that is an indication that you are sort of like more well-read and well-rounded and connected to. Basically, there's a lot of like LARPing that goes on in the Thomistic community.
That's true. I don't do the LARP though. I will say I appreciate Nathan coming in here says I can join if you want to talk. I may do that. I just want to get through this video, and I'll try not to pause at irrelevant parts here. You say it does feel easier to talk. Most of what's being said seems a bit irrelevant. So perhaps, yeah, but I just want to be comprehensive. So, all right.
That provides people with this sense of like intellectual superiority, moral superiority. And I would say that.
And Nathan, I actually agree with you right there. Yeah, I do think that many Thomists are also fall prey to this vice. Yeah, absolutely. So this brings up the key probably response, right? Is that, these two groups, and I've said this in the comments on my original video, just go back and comb through the comments, you'll find it. These two groups, which I name, are not the only groups that fall prey to this intellectual vice. It's a vice for human beings. It's a human vice. So many humans, perhaps all humans, may fall prey to it. So it's not unique to these two groups. And on top of that, not everyone in these two groups fall prey to the vice, right? That's just how vices work. So I know it's hard to, and you're like, yeah, woke leftists, yeah, of course they don't fall prey to this vice. Not all of us. Yeah, but I'm saying that also about conspiracy theories. Not all conspiracy theories fall prey to this vice as well. That's just how vices work.
Even if these criticisms of the woke left are going to be accurate, they may or may not be, that there's going to be quite a lot of like hypocrisy here, right? Where what he's going to identify will just be basically the way that Thomists behave.
That's right. I wouldn't call it hypocrisy, though. I see it as these two groups I'm using as a foil to open a discussion about the central issue, which is that vice. I think it's immaterial whether other groups do it. I could have talked about in fact, I could have demarcated every demographic in the world and like included everyone. And this one doesn't, this one doesn't, this one doesn't. You have to stop somewhere. I stopped it too, right? But I'm saying right now, everyone does it.
Jax Orbison says, "Are you in right now?" Hey, I don't know if you're not. Capitalism. That's cool. With him,
yeah. Suing. Here we go. Vice we can call cheap intellectual superiority. But before we do that, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel, because if you do that, you'll join us in pursuing the intellectual virtues. Listen, experts are.
Okay, I mean, that also feels a little bit hypocritical, right? Because he's sort of like putting down this marker, like I've got the virtues, but
notice I never said that I got the virtue. I said you'll join me in pursuing the intellectual virtues.
The point about having intellectual virtues is not to say I'm the guy with intellectual virtues. It's sort of to demonstrate it by how you go about your engagement with these.
That's true, but they also need to be conceptually identified and distinguished for us so that we can pursue them, right? So if I'm just being a model, which is a great thing, that is necessary to model these virtues so that other people can imitate them, absolutely right. But if they want to learn what they are and then imitate those things, then you're going to have to do some conceptualizing.
Topics, right? So,
and the mere conceptualizing is not being pedantic. It's not being arrogant. It's like saying these are the virtues and these are the ones that we're aiming at to pursue.
Not to be overly critical, but again, that just seems a little bit weird to sort of like advertise and say I'm the guy who's rational and all that.
Are a real thing. They're experts when it comes to fixing my car. They're experts when it comes to getting open heart surgery. And there are experts when it comes to cultivating the intellectual virtues. Notice I didn't put myself in the picture of people who cultivate the intellectual virtues. Genuine intellectual superiority, if such a thing exists, is hard won. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're arrogant. I get this criticism a lot. I have to make a video about it maybe sometime. But intellectual superiority, it's often used as a pejorative, but if it means anything, it simply means that one is at a certain advantage with respect to either functioning of the intellect or simply with respect to the things that one knows. One knows.
Do you think that's right?
I wasn't really listening.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I just don't think that is correct, at least in English, right? It seems to me like the phrase intellectual superiority is typically used for referring to people who are being for arrogant behavior. And I think that if someone is basically more competent, people use language like competence, intelligence, expertise, that.
So this is a completely fair point, Nathan. And so I want to commend you on this. There is the what's said, and then there's the connotation behind what's said. And yeah, you're right. In everyday parlance, I did try to flag this. I said, it's used mostly as a derogatory term. So probably, perhaps exclusively is a derogatory term. But if it means anything, just verbatim, intellectual, involving the intellect, superior, involving something that's greater, it would have to mean X, Y, and Z. So at this point, I could have gotten into, in fact, I might even bring this up. Let me pull this up here. Is this the one I want? Okay, here's this, yeah. All right, so this is what I mean when I'm talking about the virtues versus the vices. Let me pull this up even larger here so you guys can see it. So this is a handout summarizing, and again, not to be too pedantic, but we want to be clear, right? So if I'm saying intellectual superiority and I'm saying, oh, it's not what English speakers mean by that connotation, I need to have some defense of what I'm saying. Otherwise, we'll just go with the connotation, right? But this is what I was getting at without getting to it. So there are, this is actually a summary. I think this is the correct one that I have on. Yeah, the summary of the parts of prudence. So the parts of prudence is summary of the Skunda Skunde 48.1, the body in particular. So these are the parts of prudence. Prudence is practical wisdom, and dividing prudence, you can divide them into certain parts, like reasoning, understanding, circumspection, so on and so forth, right? And it deals with the different, I can link these if you like the actual thing, but so you can fail in you can fail in any of these areas, these like sub parts of prudence. The parts of prudence just means like the species of prudence, the sub virtues of prudence. So these are all kinds of prudence. Memory is a kind of prudence, understanding, so on and so forth. Reasoning is a kind of prudence or practical wisdom, right? Quick-wittedness is an interesting one, good guessing, or so on and so on. Docility, ability to be taught, right? So all of these, like you could fail in any one of these areas and be imprudent or unwise. You could also excel in many of these areas and be said to be wise or practically wise, that is prudent. So by saying intellectually superior, I suppose I could have gotten into the technical jargon of virtue ethics and into prudence and said, this is what I mean by intellectual superiority. But again, I mean, maybe you guys are interested in that and I need to do more on that. That's totally fair. But if I've made you fall asleep, I've only proven my point, by going through this. This is not likely to sort of attract a lot of people, right? So perhaps I'm wrong on that, and I'm open to being proved wrong because I find this interesting, and that'd be great if you could. Also, let me pull up this other one. There's not only the parts of prudence, but there's also the varieties of imprudence here. So my computer's acting weird. There we go. All right. So I could fail to have prudence in many, many ways, right? It could be a defect of reason divided in three kinds, these kinds, and there are sub-vices of imprudence, right? Temerity. This is, I think this is like not being open to choosing. You're dragging your feet on a choice. Precipitation. This is rushing headlong into a choice, like off a precipice. Lack of docility. I'm not teachable. Lack of reason, thoughtlessness, and caution, and so on and so forth. So like these are all ways in which I could be imprudent, right? So this is all in the background as I'm trying to make this short 10-minute video on what intellectual superiority is. And this is kind of like almost a throwaway comment where I'm saying, if it means anything, it means this, right? So this is what I'm referring to. One could have the intellectual virtues to a greater or lesser degree. That's all I mean, okay? And so when I'm identifying the vice of cheap intellectual superiority, even that is, well, that, by the way, Nathan and his friend both seem to cast suspicion on that locution. They use the word being AI generated or something. No, that was my own generation, I suppose. I came up with that label because it's like a nice collective label to kind of capture what's going on in the vice that I'm saying. It's almost like the vice of procrastination, let's say. Right? So Thomas Aquinas doesn't actually, this would be a moral vice, by the way. Actually, procrastination itself is not a vice. Okay, procrastination itself is a combination of vices in different amounts, right? So why doesn't Thomas Aquinas ever talk about procrastination? Did it just not exist in the medieval period? Probably not. I mean, we've all procrastinated for all of time. We're human. It's a human behavior. So, well, why isn't it on his charts or his framework of vices and virtues? Well, because I think what is happening here is that procrastination is a combination of these things. It's almost like these things are the ingredient right here, and then you can like combine them to form in several different ways into, let's say, these are the eggs, these are the flour. You like just with a cake, you can make a cake in several different ways. You can change the number of eggs, you can make almond flour, wheat flour, whatever, right? But all of those things end up at the cake, or the cake here would be procrastination. So I think the similar thing is happening with what I'm calling cheap intellectual superiority. Right? And I think it's not just an intellectual vice for what it's worth. I think it's also a moral vice as well, because I think that to be this sort of posturing oneself as intellectually superior, whether explicitly or whether implicitly, one can do so and fail in many of these vices, right? So it could be that one is not teachable. Docility means teachability, right? Could be that I'm just not teachable, right? I'm just not open to other ideas. Could be I'm negligent in tracking down material that I disagree with, right? So it could be a lot of these things, right? Different ingredients that make up that cake of cheap intellectual superiority, what I'm calling that. So all that to say that this is all in the background as we're going. Let me pull that up again so that we find ourselves again on the video. Here we go. All right, let's keep going.
That's his area of specialization. He's got more experience with this. I don't think that people would say, like, I think it would be very weird, for example, to say, like, Roger Penrose is intellectually superior to me as a physicist or something. Like, it's just a weird way of saying it that people wouldn't really engage in unless they were making a point that Penrose was sort of arrogant or something.
That's totally fair.
Obviously, the point that he's making about there being some people who have better things to say on topics than other people, I mean, that is right. But whether or not there's like this class of experts with respect to intellectual virtues in particular, I'm not quite so convinced of. I think that those are going to be skills that there's going to be some difference between what is good in what subject area.
That's true. Yeah. So his point here is if I'm understanding him correctly, is that it doesn't seem like there's a class of people who embody this virtue, if it is a virtue of intellect. Let's call it prudence, right? That embody this virtue of prudence. There's no one class of people that kind of have the market on that. And yeah, that is true. Yeah, because again, it's a human virtue, just like human vices. They're going to appear in many different people. So you can't just point to one profession and say that's the kind that have the good kind of intellectual superiority or prudence. So yeah, that's totally fair.
But there's also going to be a lot of overlap between those things. But there's no like particular class of experts with respect to that. Like being an expert in those virtues doesn't mean you're going to be like a great philosopher.
I would like to know who these experts are and like what is this discipline. And
so you can be an expert in a couple of different ways. You could be an expert on the knowledge of these virtues and yet not embody them. That is just being an intellectual expert on these things and yet fail to incorporate them in your own life. Or you can be somebody who just has no knowledge of what these virtues are and yet be really, really practically wise. You know, like my great grandmother, she just passed away like a month and a half ago, and she had like I think 8th grade, maybe a 6th grade education or something. Lived to be 102. She had no idea what these concepts were called, but she was very practically wise. She embodied them. So, as far as like who these experts are, well, it depends on what kind of expert you're talking about. People who have a lot of knowledge on these things, I would say I'd look to the philosophers who work in virtue ethics, can identify and distinguish what these virtues in the intellect are. People who embody them, well, they're going to be all over the place, not necessarily just in one demographic.
do they all converge
On
like
Catholicism?
on Thomism, maybe? I don't know.
More things than another person. Now, to get to this stage, it requires the cultivation of certain intellectual virtues, things like immense effort, rigorous inquiry, continuous self-correction and improvement, and above all, profound intellectual humility. But what we
So the part of the reason why, I mean, I don't know how much detail he's going to get into, right? But I mean, would he say that like Mary Wollstonecraft was any of those things,
yes,
or like Judith Butler was any of those things?
to a degree, yes.
Or you know, like if the criticism is about these woke leftists, and I think that's a very unhelpful term politically, because it really isn't clear to me, first, whether there's any separation between anyone who has left-wing views broadly and what's supposed to be woke.
No, notice, right? I'm not talking about woke leftists right now. I'm talking about the virtues and the vices.
Or if like it attaches to any particular, like what's woke, you know, is it just a slur word essentially? But by and large, left-wing political views correlate quite strongly with education level, right? So you might think that actually the most intellectually superior people would actually be more, you know, at least statistically, it would predict that you would be more left-wing. The more intellectually superior you are, the more left-wing you would be. That doesn't mean that it's causal or anything like that.
That's true. It's not causal.
But
not necessarily causal. This is confusion, correlation with causation.
It's kind of like weird to draw this wedge between these virtues that he's listed and people who are left-wing politically. I think that there are just so many examples. And actually, in my view, it's much more harder, I think, for me to try and find a conservative thinker who I think is actually exhibiting these virtues. Where, like, I don't know if you would think of any off the top of your head, but like, if
I would. It's unfortunate that you can't. It's really unfortunate. This means a couple of things. It means there's nobody out there who's a conservative who embodies these virtues, or it means that you're not aware of the conservatives out there who embody these virtues, right? You'll name Roger Scruton here, great example. I'd look to Robbie George as another one who's at Princeton, Catholic political philosopher. Those are two of the giants that I can think of off the top of my head who embody these virtues extremely, extremely well. But yeah, so as far as people on the left, I mean, yeah, I can think of a few people on the left, like Musa Al-Gharbi. I think he's on the left. I mean, I could be totally wrong about that, but I think he's on the left, who I mentioned here. There are other people on the left, right, or who used to be on the left, who are good thinkers about these things too.
Think of like even someone say like Roger Scruton. I think that there's a lot of kind of like class LARPing going on with him, where he's kind of like trying to, basically a lot of the work is done by the aesthetic of wearing like a tweed jacket and being next to a bookshelf and having a pipe and stuff, rather than the actual content of what he has to say, which is typically, in my view, sort of undergrad level philosophy of mind or something. I don't know who I would even point to as doing like good conservative work, because it all seems so caricaturish at the minute. Maybe someone like Edmund Burke, right, you could point to, but it's not like there aren't issues. But
I don't know that many like things about his personal life and stuff.
Yeah.
He was an anti-Semite.
I don't know who's doing good conservative work. Let's look up good conservative philosophers, let's say. And yeah, let's switch to this tab here. Sorry. Yeah. Good conservative philosophers here. Oh, not these guys. It always thinks I'm thinking of philosophers. I mean, yeah, Edmund Burke, but he's been dead for a few hundred years. We're talking about right now. I mean, Friedrich Hayek, he's an economist. I suppose he's a little conservative, but he's a classical liberal. Depends on what you mean by conservative. Thomas Sowell's a great example. Yeah, he is an economist as well, but he's a social theorist as well. I think he's retired now, or he ought to be. He's in the 1930s. Robbie George is not on this, unfortunately. But yeah, let's say present day. Ed Feser, yeah. I mean, look, I know a lot of people online like Ed Feser, and I have nothing wrong with, a problem with him. He is a philosopher. He's trained in that, but he's more of a popularizer. I'd say I fall into that camp probably as well. I'm educated in philosophy, but I think he does do a lot more academic work that people aren't aware of. So there's that as well. I don't recognize all these names, but it just Robbie George, there he is, Robert P. George there, great guy. Michael Novak, although he's not, I don't know if he's he's a Catholic philosopher and diplomat, so I don't know what kind of diplomat he is, but did receive the Templeton Prize there. And if you just go to, for example, the Aquinas Medal recipients, right? So, no, not that. Aquinas Medal recipients. The whole past recipients. The ACPA, the American Catholic Philosophical Association, gives out these. You can see who in recent years have been considered to be. Alistair McIntyre, he just passed, a very prominent thinker with respect to virtues and stuff. You've got Joseph Pieper, who's massively awesome, I think. Mortimer Adler, again, you'll see some of his books in the philosophy section. He's more of a popularizer and stuff, but he also did great work. Copleston has his eminent philosophy of history. There's Pope John Paul II. Before he was Pope, you got Anscombe and all these other people, right? So Hauser, he's really great. Ferdoso, he's done amazing work, especially in translation. Sister Mary Allen's Prudence and so on. Prudence Allen. So these, Eleanor Stump, my gosh. If you just go back in the last decade or two. So there are some really great minds and great thinkers. Now, I'm not saying that all these people, just because they won a really prestigious award in the philosophy of religion, just because they did that they lean politically left, or sorry, politically right. That doesn't follow. But this would be a good place to start. You could look up each one of them. Okay, Stump, she might lean left, I think, probably, because I'm a little bit. I know her. I've met her. I've seen Facebook friends with her, so I've seen some of her stuff online. Same with Zagzebski. I'm not sure about her. But yeah, some of these people will lean left, of course, so it doesn't entail that they're all right-leaning, but I think this is a good place to start. The fact that they are devout Catholics, that they're doing good work in philosophy, and just go track them down, right? So, oh my gosh, so I am so sorry that I did not switch to this tab. Here are the people that I was identifying. So in in more distant decades, it would be like Lonergan, Mortimer Adler, Copleston, John Paul II, Pope, Anscombe, even W. Norris Clark. He was author who I very frequently recommend on Thomistic Metaphysics. And then in recent years, like a lot of these are recognizable names. Alistair McIntyre, even Jorge Garcia there, Eleanor Stump, Zagzebski, Hauser, Ferdoso, Mary Prudence Allen, and so on. So a lot of these people are extremely big, heavy hitters when it comes to Catholic philosophy and philosophy of religion in general. I don't know if Zagzebski is even Catholic, so I don't think necessarily all of them are Catholic, but they do really prominent work in philosophy of religion. I would begin there. I would begin with this list. So sorry about that. I didn't switch to the tab, but let's go here. Let's go back.
Of course, but back then that was like normal. So you're reading some like enlightenment text, and suddenly there's like a weird paragraph about
Jew hatred. And they should never get the state of Israel. They were weirdly correct, actually. No, become the next one. But yeah, I honestly find it very hard. I would say even like the best conservative work I've come across recently has been done by left-wing political scholar Matt McManus, right? Like where he made that book, Postmodern Conservatism. He just wrote a really good review of Ben Shapiro's new book, which I think he does a much better job of articulating the views of these people on the right than they are doing themselves. So
I'm not surprised about that, because Ben Shapiro is not I think he has a law degree, but he's not an active scholar writing. So I'm surprised the man even has time to write, to be honest with you, with all the other stuff he's got going on. So I think I have heard of Matt McManus, but I've not read any of his work. So that's actually a virtue. I'm glad that you brought somebody up like that up to serve as an example of somebody on the left who does have these virtues, right? Of intellectual prudence, intellectual honesty, intellectual diligence, seeking out the other side and trying to hear what they say. I mean, that's what we need to promote. That's hopefully what we're doing here.
I don't see these virtues on the right. I actually see them more on the left. But
that's really sad and unfortunate, to be honest with you. I don't, again, like the virtues are there, so I don't know why you don't see them, and maybe you're just not familiar with the thinker. So hopefully I've done a little bit here to start to get you going on these people. First person I point you to is probably Robert P. George from Princeton. He's old West Virginia bluegrass banjo player who happened to find his way into Princeton, to be honest with you. Devout Catholic, very, very intelligent. I've met him. I actually have comments on one of his papers at a conference. So he's a really great guy. And since he works in political philosophy, that's who you're going to want to read. So if you want some other recommendations, like in metaphysics or something like that, fine, we can track that down. But for political philosophy, that'd be my go-to. Often observe instead across various ideological spectrums is a cheap intellectual superiority. Did you notice what I said there? I said across various ideological spectrums. So I'm not saying that it's only in these two, and I'm certainly not saying what this title of the video, Nathan's video, suggests, Our Woke Leftist Conspiracy Theory Lunatics. he seemed to think that I was lumping those together, kind of conflating those. I would just think that all woke leftists just are conspiracy theorists. And this is evidence that I never thought that whatsoever. I don't think that now. I never thought that when I was making this video. So let's go back and hear. Instead, across various ideological spectrums, is a cheap intellectual superiority. It's the sense of knowing better that bypasses all that hard work. It's an assumed superiority, not an earned one. Let's unpack this using our first example. Take, for instance, certain corners of what you'll hear people refer.
Why are there images of just like people at Pride on the screen and LGBT flags, right? Because those aren't like left-wing scholars, right?
What would you have preferred me, Nathan, to put on the screen to describe this demographic? I genuinely am curious. Like, putting scholars. I mean, if I put somebody who's a scholar, they'd be unrecognizable. I suppose I could put a name there as well. That would have been something. Just as I'm thinking through this, something I could have done. But yeah, so I go here because this is a left-wing issue. You're not going to find people on the right who really push for this issue. So it's strongly identified with the left. So I'm not sure why this is a problem. And then you'll hear me say here, I think you were talking over this important part again. So let's go back.
Pride on the screen and LGBT flags, right? Because
one. Let's unpack this using our first example. Take, for instance, certain corners of what you'll hear people refer. I said, take, for example, certain corners of what you'll hear people refer to as woke leftists. So it's not that I go around using woke leftists as a term all the time. I said what you'll hear as. In other words, I take this as just common parlance. The pushback on this is, well, define leftist, define woke, right? That's totally fair, right? So, I mean, I'm just using it, woke, leftist. I think leftist is distinguished from, in my view, from liberal and from people on the left, right? So I'm thinking of people who are very radically on the left. I'd see it as the corollary would be alt-right, right? So far left, far right, I suppose, if you like. So by saying woke leftists, I'm certainly not identifying all of the left or all progressives, right? Certainly not all even academics on the left. So many of which in academia are on the left. So all that to say, not everybody on the left is going to be square in what I consider to be this group that I'm identifying, right? And well, what do I mean by this tiny subset, this tiny group? I mean the people who are radically left, and even in that subset, I don't consider all of them to be party to this vice, right? So listen again. Let's unpack this using our first example. Take, for instance, certain corners of what you'll hear people. So I take this to be a really small subset on the left, and I don't think it even happens in that entire subset, right? Because again, human beings are going to have the vice or not have the vice. It's going to appear anywhere where there are human beings. So, I don't know what to do, man. I try to clarify. I try to be as clear as possible. But the best writing advice and probably speaking advice that was ever given me, and probably I should follow it a lot more carefully, is that you ought not to write so that you're understood. You ought to write so that you're not misunderstood. And maybe this is on me, right? So I'm saying something, but I'm not going back and couching and being careful and clarifying and so on. Hopefully I'm doing that now, right? But but the thing is, like, you have to give people charity and grace and understanding, and allow them space to do that, right? So I'm glad Nathan's in the chat. So you're here listening to me. That's great. And so, thankfully, this is a sign probably that the ship hasn't sailed, but yeah, I think that at first brush, I think perhaps what's happening is I'm getting lumped into a certain demographic. And if I'm not, great, that's cool. You can clarify that. But I'm certainly not lumping Nathan into any demographic. I mean, I don't even know Nathan's political views whatsoever. I can guess at them based on his reaction to this video. But again, that's my first exposure to Nathan's political views ever. So perhaps it's the same for me, him watching my video, original video. So but again, at first brush, I shouldn't just be like, oh, well, I'm lumping you into this, I'm lumping you into that. Give people a chance to clarify. So yeah, let's keep going. You'll hear people.
Why are there images of just like people at Pride on the screen and LGBT flags, right? Because those aren't like left-wing scholars, right, as well. So these are just people who are involved in a political movement. You could say, I mean, the point could be that people who are involved in the movement broadly aren't exhibiting intellectual virtues, but then...
Yes, correct. And a lot of these people are online. And I think online anonymity allows oneself to kind of fester that vice even more, or whatever vice it may be. So, yeah.
Not intellectuals, right? The intellectuals... and that criticism is just going to be the same for any political movement, because
that's absolutely right. You're starting to see my point.
Political movements are typically done by people who are not intellectuals, or composed of people who are not intellectuals, so don't have intellectual virtues. Yeah, Rahul, I'm on your stream next. I got you. Don't worry.
They're particularly within academic or activist spaces. They're called woke because there's a sense in which they're awake while everyone else is asleep. That is, they're in the know while everyone else isn't. An author called...
And so,
is the woke label actually a label that these people adopted themselves, and was it originally derogatory? I don't know.
I just learned the word for that is exonym. I learned this like 2 weeks ago, but it is an exonym because the woke movement initially, well, it's very different to what it's being used. Sure. It initially was kind of like an aspect of like Black liberation culture. So there was a lot of like gospel music, or like R&B music, and even like art people producing. And the idea of wokeness was about waking up to like Black liberation through these pieces of art, or these pieces of art expressing ways that racism and prejudice was expressed as a result of historic power structures and things. Then obviously 2015 to 2020, SJW, right? So this is something that's really interesting. You won't find the term woke being used.
Yeah.
You will find SJW or rap feminists, stuff like that. Then around 2020, all of the term becomes woke. I don't know.
I wonder whether the reason why the specific term came to be adopted is because you can then make this point by saying, oh, they are claiming to be woke while everyone is asleep.
Yeah, I don't know. And I do think a part of it, I mean, one sort of trope that's very popular is like, oh, they're a religion. Like we became secular, but they've now adopted, and so they have this kind of like mechanism. But then it's even weirdly, I mean, a part of the is it's weirdly ironic, because I mean, that is literally exactly what he believes about salvation, right?
Okay, so he's going to get in some religious commentary here, but basically up to now, everything Nathan's saying is totally on point, as far as I understand it. As far as the term woke is being used, I know this question came from Camille here, so he has nothing to do with the actual video, but it's just a question about the term being used, and you're absolutely right, just as far as the progression historically of how the term was applied. Yeah, so I think he gets into some religious commentary here.
Part I was going to make is it's weirdly ironic, because I mean, that is literally exactly what he believes about salvation, right? So he thinks that there is a sort of special grace given by God that makes him a member of this particular group, rather than that is for everyone, because he's exclusivist as well. So, I mean,
well, it is a special grace of salvation is available to everyone. It's a free gift of salvation, and all you got to do is accept it.
And that is just an accusation, really, that is hypocritical.
It's not hypocritical. I would love to hear more unpacking on this, because I've gotten this from a couple of people that I'm being hypocritical here. Perhaps what this means is, well, your side does it too. Well, yeah, I agree. My side does engage in this intellectual vice that I'm identifying. Absolutely true. But Nathan's point seems to be much more specific here, that in the very act of, like, talking about salvation or saying that, I'm a member of this specific group of people called Christians or Catholics, what have you, that I'm somehow exhibiting woke behavior. I mean, it's a little puzzling to me that you'd claim that. And also, doesn't it seem to defeat your kind of central claim here in your title? Wouldn't that make all woke leftists also religious, or all religious people woke leftists? I'm not sure what the payoff is here. Again, like if we're making that similar sort of fallacious error in saying that because I'm not saying this, but because this group is related to this group, they just conflate as the same thing, or one is an instance of the other. You would have to also be consistent and say that if you're saying this about religious people, that they do this behavior, then maybe all religious people are woke leftists. So I'm not sure you want to make that claim, but I think the reasoning would be nearly identical. Musa al-Gharbi points to a disturbing trend among these people in his recent book called We Have Never Been Woke, The Cultural Contradictions of a New Elite. This new elite are what he calls symbolic.
I don't think the claim, just going off the title, I don't know what the book says, but I don't think that the claim of woke people is that people have always, I think their point is to wake up and realize those things rather than that we have always been woke. But I don't know. Maybe the book is about something else and I'm misunderstanding his point.
So thanks, Nathan, for making this. I was curious if you'd still be here and so on. I do want to get through the rest of this video, and I'm glad you're here, first of all. And if you are still around, I would love to have an open discussion then at that point. So I guess it's the Q&A session of this or whatnot. But yeah, sorry to keep you waiting, but if you are still here, I mean, this really the whole thrust of it is to answer to you. So I'm glad that you're here live doing this. So not to take up your time. If you got to go do something else, go ahead and do that. But if you are here, I would really like to bring you on at the end. Like capitalists, people who use the language of social justice, initially intended for liberation and equality, but they use it as a tool for intellectual exclusion. The language of social justice is increasingly used to justify this elite and to portray the losers in the knowledge economy as deserving their lot because they think or say the...
Is the chat next to Nathan? The background is Cameron Battusi's flat, and this is a demon that... I'll let this play out a bit before I can't.
Wrong things about race, gender, and sexuality. It's not about the noble goals of social justice itself, which are often profoundly important. Even Catholic social teaching has a lot to say about social justice, true social justice, but rather it's about the manner in which some individuals wield the language of social justice and its frameworks. Instead of seeking a deeper understanding and compassion where there is need, these ideas are weaponized, holding the...
Okay, so just to say, I think that this is somewhat correct.
Thank you, because this idea that you're saying is somewhat correct, and I'll let you unpack here, is the central core idea of the entire video, is that some individuals do this. They weaponize or use the language of social justice, right? I mean, it's like a secondary core idea. The central core idea is intellectual vice. But I think by doing this thing, this group of people, by doing this thing, they are subject to this vice. So that's the connection there. Now, did I say all individuals in this group? No, I said some individuals in this group weaponize the language to exclude. That's my entire, and that's not even my claim. That's Musa al-Gharbi's claim. So I'm using somebody else's quote here. So let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I agree with that actually as well.
And the sense in which I think it's correct is that a lot of these criticisms have either become tools which can be used by people to build a career to a sort of gullible audience by creating a product of politics and selling it back. I mean, I feel like this was actually the criticism within Barbie, right, of feminism, was like that, feminism was essentially turned into a product and like sold back to people. And it was kind of like ironic and weird in that way. And I think it's right that a lot of the cutting moral critiques of our politics have been essentially subsumed by a cast of elite people who went to elite universities and then turned into virtue signals, empty words that are hollow and don't have anything to do with their actual values or political intent. So that's right. But what I think is wrong is to take that criticism and levy it against the points that would be considered to be woke.
I didn't do that. I did, just to clarify. Let's back up, see what he said again. What I think he gets wrong, this is what he says.
Values or political intent. So that's right. But what I think is wrong is to take that criticism and levy it against the points that would be considered to be woke.
I didn't do that. Notice that I'm actually not, and I think Camille makes this point later, I'm actually not identifying any platform issues within the left. I'm using images because what else would I use, right? But these are images. I mean, these images right here I pulled from videos off of X, Twitter. But the images I'm using are meant there to kind of evoke an understanding of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the left. I'm talking about Musa al-Gharbi, so I put his face on the screen, right? So, but as far as what I'm saying, I never even talk about any platform issues, whatever. I'm not saying that because they do this now, it undermines their whole platform. I never said that, right? In fact, I went so far as to say that some issues, right? What did I say? That there are noble goals within the politically left. Yeah, absolutely, right? So, and I mentioned Catholic social work, right? There's a whole massive literature on Catholic social teaching, like from councils, from popes, from bishops, from doctors of the church, from scholars, and not all of those people are on the right. A lot of those people, like I think you'll mention liberation theology as well. So a lot of those people are on the left. Why? Well, because the Catholic Church, which I am a member, by the grace of God, thank God, that I was able to find my way home. But the Catholic Church does not play these games with the Western world and say, oh, we're just going to be right, we're just going to be left. You can't really define the Catholic Church and Catholic faith just by these real narrow construals and concepts and definitions of right or left. This came up with Francis. It was like everybody thought he was on the left, when in reality he was actually really conservative. So was he on the left? Was he on the right? Well, those molds are broken. Same thing with Pope Leo. They're like, well, he's going to be cool, he's going to be conservative or whatever. We're looking forward to this. And then he says some things about, I think it is in the comments to this video, he says some things about, right here, the current Pope's recent comments about Trump, income equality, and the treatment of immigrants, right? So especially these two issues, income inequality, treatment of immigrants, that is understood most of the time to be a leftist or progressive issue. And yet you've got the Pope, who everybody thought was a conservative until 5 minutes ago when he made these comments, making these comments. So all that to say that being Catholic, you can't really put your flag in either of these camps and do so consistently, and do so with your head in the sand about the other side's issues. That's my point. So by making criticisms of something I see in my opponent, I'm not saying that by those criticisms that undermines my opponent's platform or their actual valid concerns or something like that, right? This is opposing, of course, that progressives are my opponent. So let's keep going.
So, because then what you do is you become a tool of enablement for continued racial oppression, gender oppression, sexuality oppression, right? You're just saying, oh, even if there's something to, I'm not even going to think about whether there's something to the criticisms. I'm just going to dismiss it on the grounds that some sort of upper middle class / aristocratic type people.
Okay, so yeah, this would be another instance of intellectual vice. I'm not sure if it'd be cheap intellectual superiority if it'd fall under that, but that would be a hasty dismissal, right? If you dismiss it on the grounds of, oh, I saw that you did something wrong, that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That would be something I'm advocating against. Don't do that. If you're on the right or the left, don't do that.
Sort of held these beliefs and they didn't really believe them or do much about them. That's not good grounds for dismissing the whole thing. That's good grounds for criticizing those people as hypocritical or lying or ineffective politicians, but you shouldn't dismiss the ideas on that basis. You should still see if there's anything on offer. I think there is, particularly if you're looking at, if you're looking to America and then pointing to like ordinary working people who are protesting against oligarch billionaires taking over the instruments of the state and using that to harm ordinary working people to enrich themselves. Well, then if you're criticizing those people protesting, right, you're no better than these elites who are just, using, you're just perpetuating a harmful and out of touch ideology.
I'm not really sure if I agree with this, that you're perpetuating harm by criticizing what the way in which somebody protests or something like that. I mean, that's not, this is a left talking point. So Nathan's kind of flagged himself as being on that side with this language, for better or worse, that's fine. But I just don't think it's true, to be honest with you, to say that by calling out these people for protesting the oligarchy is to try to perpetuate, some harms or something like that. I mean, could be that you're calling out the people because the way in which their method, that is, the way in which they're going about it, is really ineffective. Does that mean I'm trying to perpetuate the harms that are being done to them? No, not at all. I'm just saying that their methods are ineffective. Like, I think that's true. I think that many of the protests are really ineffective. So does that mean that I want them to continue to hurt and suffer and so on? No, that's not what that means at all.
That defends the perpetrators of harm in society. So.
Correct opinions on race, gender, and sexuality, or being fluent in specific jargon, can become a bad.
What do you think about that's Barclay. What do you think about fucking per se chains of being and
Yeah, I think that like if the actual social justice is being done within Roman Catholicism, and I think the symbolic capitalists of that social justice are like Roman Catholic bishops.
Yeah.
Of course, the problem is there are also like pedophiles.
Yes.
Right?
Well, the same in universities and things. But yeah, I mean, do you know Dorothy Day and the Catholic Workers Movement?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or even liberation theory. Like,
Yep.
Like, there are essentially these movements. I feel that a lot of these Catholics who are ensconced in northern U.S. American.
Thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate that, Nathan. That's very worthwhile saying. And I think that if you look at somebody like Dorothy Day, for example, the Catholic social workers movement, I don't think. I mean, it's to my mind. Maybe I'm misremembering or something, but I don't think that people construe her as like a leftist or something. I mean, again, like categories evolve over time, and she was, several decades or a century ago or something. She was very early on, like early 1900s, I believe, maybe late 1800s. But so the category is going to be very different. So she shouldn't. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's that's the problem with looking at history. You kind of like, you get into a bit of historical revisionism. So we don't want to say that she's a progressive leftist. I don't know. I mean, I know probably progressive leftists want to claim her, but again, if we look at just what her work was, what she was doing, what her aims were, they weren't merely political. They weren't just to serve the platform of a political party. They were to expand the kingdom of God and to do Christ's work on earth and to ennoble the dignity of human beings. Like, that's what it was, right? And so, yeah, if you want to say that the left also does that, awesome. I'm glad that they're doing that, to be quite frank with you. That's great. But that's not a platform issue. That is a theological issue that she was trying to embody.
Ideology, and basically dismiss and don't consider and think, they go, they're heretics and wrong, all the while spending the past decade slandering the Pope, like for saying all these sorts of things. Yeah.
Badge of intellectual superiority. I'm better than you because I know the lingo. Or if you don't say or use the right code words, or God forbid you disagree with us, then we'll cancel you.
For example, if I came into a Catholic church and tried to receive the Eucharist in my hand rather than on my tongue, or like didn't say a Latin word, or
you translated the Bible into English.
Yeah. I see you're trying to draw comparisons here between being canceled or something. Yeah, I don't think that this is the same. You don't get doxxed for receiving the Eucharist in your hand or for not saying the Latin. You will, though, on both sides of the political spectrum, you will if you say the wrong thing, right? So I've been in, let's say, I've even been in Christian circles, even Catholic circles, even Christian, even religious right, or let's say conservative circles online. And I've said something as a point of criticism, and I've been eaten alive, right? I'm sure people there might have thought about doxing me, if it had been aggressive enough, so that's the attitude we're seeing, right? And that's my criticism. That's my focus, right? So this stuff about like liturgy wars and stuff like this is beside the point. It's immaterial to what the actual concern is. I mean, I suppose in some sense it might apply, right, to the idea that it's intellectual superiority. And I think you're right about that, right? I think my personal view on this, the liturgical wars are really dumb. I think they're really dumb. I think they totally miss the point of what it means to be a faithful Catholic. I don't think saying prayers in Latin, I think it's just a matter of taste, to be honest with you. Just personal opinion. Whether you receive on the hand or the tongue, just personal opinion. Whether you have a communion rail or incense or whatever. I just think that, that's not for me to decide. That's for the bishops and cardinals and pope to decide. Like that. I mean, and that's something that I can be sort of neutral on, right? But I think that people who digging their heels on one side of this issue, an issue on which bishops have said you have freedom to do either, and then they fight about it, that does display, like right here, the same vice that we're trying to identify, the intellectual superiority, right? So, but my point here that I'm making about canceling people, I don't think that applies to the example that Nathan brought up here. Individual who expresses a nuanced doubt, on the other hand, or perhaps even articulates something that's an unarticulated discomfort, that person is not engaged with charitably. Instead, they are swiftly dismissed as ignorant, problematic, or even unfit. The assumption is because they...
You say these people are like heretics. I love how also the those pictures,
that person is not in, like, or even on.
like, for example, right?
Notice that, I mean, he keeps making pot shots at the Catholic faith and Christianity, of course. And maybe in jest, that's totally fine. You know, I know Nathan, he's a jokester and self-identified jokester in his, you know, YouTube description. So no harm there. I like jokes. But just to clarify, I mean, so heresies, when they are identified as a matter of grave seriousness, as an error in the faith, because it could lead people to hell, right? It's not about like, oh, you're just wrong and we hate you now, and so you're excluded from our club. That's not what's happening with heresies, but that is what's happening in the culture. And when we identify heresies, we go through rigorous process of like these councils on which hundreds and hundreds of bishops and cardinals attend, and scholars are able to present their findings and their views and their arguments and so on. Like, that's a rigorous work, right? You don't see councils for like on the left or the right where, like, I mean, you see conventions and they're parties, right? They're like some rapper or some, you know, I don't know, the Eagles play or what Village People play or something. I mean, that's what you see. You don't, I mean, if we had that, that'd be great. I'd probably champion that if we had that. But all that to say, yeah, just calling this, the same thing is happening because you exclude people on the basis of heresy. Well, that process is a very serious, rigorous, grave process. And the reasons, it's not the people who are excluded, it's the heresy which is excluded. And it's done so through reason and explanation. And there are, you can go look up the arguments, you can go look up the theology. If you continue to disagree, okay, that's fine. You're just not you're excommunicated. In other words, you're not in communion with the Catholic Church. You're just like, okay, fine. You're just not going to be in communion. That's what that means. In other words, you're not unified with what we're doing here. That's fine, right? I mean, but they're not going to dox you, right? They're not going to like go find your home or something, right? And you might say, well, that's what they did with the Inquisition, right? They went and stamped it out and they killed a bunch of people. Well, that was again, we have to think historically. It's a very different time period in history. I know we're getting sidetracked here. We're getting far afield, but just to cover all bases so that I'm not misunderstood again, there's a very different time in history. And it was when popes and the Catholic Church had tremendous political power and secular power. So you're going to see different things done. And not all the things they did are things that we can approve of now. Like, they're not things that are affirmed by the Catholic Church now. So it's not things that we agree with now. So yeah, but times were different then. All right, let's keep going.
Why is Elon Musk being displayed here? For example, an unelected individual who came in.
I'll tell you why Elon's being displayed there. Nathan will go on here to start to criticize some of his rockets, some of his cars, right? All that, and then I did put his picture up when I said unfit, right? And I didn't mean unfit for office because he has no elected office. You're right, Nathan. But if he's unfit, let it be on the basis of some error that he did. Okay, it's for that reason that he's unfit. Let it not be on the basis of some perceived Nazi salute that he did at some speaking event. Like, or he used to be on the left, now he's on the right, so now he's unfit. We don't like him. Like, what happened in the last few years to where everybody wanted a Tesla and he was the next big thing of the future, and then now everybody thinks he's an oligarch who's money-hungry billionaire, who's buying up people, buying up Twitter, buying up everything, and just wants to rule the world, like he's the Antichrist or something. Like, what happened in just those few years? Why? Is because he became a person on the right. That's why people are not liking him. That's my point. I think that's really shallow thinking, right? So he obviously had reasons, unless we just assume that he's, despite being an autistic, genius, for lack of a better word, unless we assume that he just has really uncareful thinking, he's just going with his emotion, that's why he went right. I suppose some could think that. I suppose many people think that. But unless we assume that, then we have to assume that he has probably good reasons for joining the right. Well, what are those reasons? And that would be where you'd look. You wouldn't just dismiss somebody just for being in a certain political party as being unfit.
And stole the social security numbers.
So he's going to get through some criticisms that they're just really immaterial because they all have to do with like his rockets, his cars, and so on and like that. And again, the point is that's totally beside the point. If he's unfit for those reasons, sure, but that wasn't my criticism.
That's actually a good point, I think.
fit. The assumption is because they haven't adopted a particular framework or don't use the right language. That's exactly my point. They are intellectually inferior, and their perspectives are not worth.
So let's work out a deal. So if we all like convert to Roman Catholicism, can we like burn Elon Musk's stake? Because I like, look, I have the price, you know.
It's true. I don't know, actually, maybe you'll know better than me, if there is like a legitimate sort of like legal case within Catholicism to be made for the death penalty. I mean, I feel like, just talking about Christianity outside of Catholicism, I feel like theologically there isn't, but
Okay, I've got to see this. I'm sorry, first of all. So Nathan seems to be attacking me now. I'm so sorry. So I am about to point out his errors. I don't, again, like, look, if you want to criticize him based on those errors, that's totally fine. And by skipping him, I'm saying that those are legitimate reasons. You don't have to get angry. So those are legitimate reasons to criticize somebody on. The fact that he belongs to a certain group is not legitimate reason to criticize somebody on. That's not a legitimate reason just because he's on the right to criticize him, right? So I'm not saying that you are criticizing him based on merely being on the right. That was my claim. Go back in this video and rewatch my claim, rewatch the original video. I'm not saying, so I'm not misrepresenting you. I'm only going off what was on the screen. So no, I never said anything about you were merely dismissing him merely because he was on the right. I didn't say that. I'm referring to my original video that I'm talking about people who do that. I didn't include Nathan in that group of people who do that, right? And then to bring up and say, well, he is unfit for these reasons. Yes, okay, fine. Let's that's fine, right? That you can have that conversation. But as far as like my central point, again, is on intellectual vice, in this particular intellectual vice, right? Then that's immaterial to what I'm doing here. So, all right. I'm not misrepresenting you, Nathan. So I'm sorry that I've apparently struck a nerve here. I mean, if you want, look, man, look. I don't want to be forcing anything, but so if we listen to this portion, this like 2-3 minute portion on which you criticize Elon Musk, cool, we could do that, right? Suppose we do that. Now we have reasons for thinking Elon Musk is wrongly suited for the job in which he's in. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. I have actually no opinion on that, but that's a completely separate issue. It's the central core issue in my video is on people who dismiss somebody merely because they're in a certain political party, right? And you may not do that. And if you don't do that, that's awesome. That's awesome. You're not doing that. You're not dismissing him merely on the basis of being in a political party. Great. You're doing the right thing then. That's what I'm saying, Nathan. Like, we don't need to go back through this because I'm saying that you're doing the right thing. So I don't know why you're getting angry here, but let's keep going.
If you're just talking about the actual like legalistic resources of the Catholic Church, do you know if there is like a precedent for that?
Worthy of engagement. It's intellectual closure, masquerading as enlightenment. You're not asked to think critically about the theory, but to think with the theory, without.
So you know, like when you're told to rationally approach Christianity through Aquinas' 5 ways, you know, through an RCIA course, where like is that offered in order to think critically about those things?
Yes.
Or is that offered as this is the framework to adopt if you want to be in the in-group, you know?
Yes.
And also, like, at the same time, the criticism of the left is often that it's like too fragmentary and there's like too much internal disagreement, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know, I've never been in like alt-right spaces or like far-right spaces, but I actually like consistently found that
Nathan, I'm happy to have you on, but again, just to be thorough, I'd love to continue reviewing this. It may be another hour before I can get you on, unfortunately, but I'm sorry to have wasted your time. You do cost a lot per hour, I think, in your day job. So I appreciate your time. I did this on an evening, so hopefully you would be free, not be wasting too much of your time. I'm sorry to waste your Friday evening. I'm so sorry. Actually, I do mean that. So, yeah. So, but you know what? Okay, I'm the person you're reviewing. You gave an interpretation of what I said, and I'm telling you it's incorrect. I'm going to do the perhaps imprudent choice of having you on, you were just angry. So, I mean, I suppose I could have you on, and then whenever you leave, I can finish reviewing the video. I suppose that's fine. But in that case, let me get the link up. And so I will copy the link. I will post it here. And anybody who else comes in, I just won't have you on. But this is just particularly for Nathan. So I wait you to join, and then we can hash this out, and then perhaps finish reviewing the video whenever Nathan's gone. So, oh, good to see you. Okay, good. All right, cool. All right, so let me scoot over, come back over here. Oh. All right. Okay. All right, Nathan, you are here.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
You are the person I'm reviewing. So I want to reply to what you said, get that out of the way, and then move on to you. But
I think I can
We're
hear
here.
myself in the
Oh,
background.
yeah, in that
oh no,
case-
it's me. It's my audio. I
no,
think-
it's because I don't have these in. So let me
Okay.
put these in. Okay, you should be good now.
Cool. 1, 2, testing. Yeah, I think I got it. What testing?
All right, so what's up?
Yeah, you can hear me? You got me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess I'm frustrated because I feel like I've been misinterpreted pretty consistently.
I can imagine what that's like.
Well, I know you feel the same, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I want to be like empathetic about that. Like, I don't want to misinterpret you, but I still think, given the things that you've said, that the criticisms I've raised are right. I think that your responses to those have often involved deflecting from the points I've made, interpreting them in a very weak way or an overly strict way in order to make it that I'm making, say, a deductive claim that I'm not making, that is a fallacy, which makes it easy to dismiss what I'm saying rather than to respond to the central point that I'm raising.
But you were saying this in your comment. It replied to me. So
yeah.
Can you give me some concrete examples of what we're talking about?
Yeah, sure. Well, so like, let's just take a step back, right? You made a video. What was the title of the video, just to be clear, right? So you made a 10-minute video, just over 10 minutes, called Woke Leftists, Conspiracy Theorists, What Do They Have in Common, right? So what would you say, what, like, of all of the possible videos in the world you could have made and all of the titles you could have gone with, why that, right? Like, what is it supposed to communicate to an audience? How should the average audience member interpret that in your view?
Yeah, thanks for asking the question. So again, like I said at the very beginning, you were here for this. The central concept of the video is cheap intellectual superiority, or some vice. I just happened to label it that. And I use these two groups, these demographics, let's say, as an example.
So just to be clear, right?
That's it.
So the topic is fake or bad intellectual virtues or fake intellectual virtues, but then sort of out of like a random sentence generator, you pulled out the sentence woke people and conspiracy theorists, and that is the sentence you chose to go with for a topic that's about something else.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by random sentence generator?
Yeah, well, I mean, just because the way that you just described your production method is
no, I'm not using AI. Like I take
no,
notes
that's
on
not
these
what
and then, okay.
That's not what I'm saying either.
Okay,
I'm
not
saying
sure.
that. Yeah, I'm saying that it just sounds very psychologically implausible what you're suggesting, right? That we're supposed, as an audience, to interpret you as having a video about one topic, but then producing a title about a completely different topic. And actually, we should gaslight ourselves into thinking the video is not about the topic that you made the title about, but is actually about a completely different topic that you're now saying it's about.
I mean, I gave the example of C.S. Lewis doing exactly this thing.
No, I don't care about
So,
C.S.
like,
Lewis. I didn't
as
ask
an
you
example.
a question. No, but I'm
As
not
an
asking you a
example, right?
question. But stop changing the topic and respond to what I said.
What was your question?
Yeah. So, what is the video actually about? Why did you choose
Cheap
that
intellectual
topic?
superiority.
Right. So, why is the title Woke Leftists, Conspiracy Theorists, What Do They Have in Common? Why are those the examples you go for?
To
Why
grab
not?
people's attention.
So why not Catholics?
I mean, yeah, I could have included that, but I
Yeah.
didn't.
Why not?
I didn't think of it.
True or false, Catholics have cheap intellectual superiority.
Some of them do,
Right. So why not Catholics?
because I didn't think of that group.
And why didn't you think of it?
I don't know. Is this a cross-examination here? What's going on? I mean, I've been clear about this as well.
No, you've
that
not been
not
clear. You've been muddying the waters to try and rationalize
No.
your actions to yourself, so you can basically keep
So,
yourself
allow
from
me to-
seeing what you've done. Yeah, you can.
So-
I'll mute myself so you can respond.
Okay, so I have been clear in saying that these two groups, not everybody in these two groups do this thing, and that there are other groups out here who do this thing. Like that's been clear. I said that at the very beginning of this video, and I've said that in the comments to the original video.
Right. So will you now make a 10-minute video? Right. No, not where you will not make any defense.
That's what this
No-
video is.
No. Right. Will you now make a 10-minute video where you don't make a single apology for Catholics and purely point out what foolish idiots they are and the vices that they display? Will you do that in the same way? And then invite people at the end to join you on a better journey.
So I'm unsure why you asked the question in that way, because I'm not saying that people on the left are
Point out
foolish
your
idiots.
hypocrisy. That's why.
Did I say that people on the left are foolish idiots?
Yeah, you present them that way. That is implied by
The
your
transcript
video.
is
You don't have to be
available.
saying it. No, I'm not
The
saying that
transcript's
it's a
available.
quote. I'm not saying it's a quote.
Exactly. It's not a quote. It's not anything I said.
Yeah, I never said it. What do you mean exactly? That's what I just said. Don't present what I just said back to me as if you've just discovered a point. If you just listen to me, that's what I just said.
I'm trying.
Okay.
So you had asked, will I make a video pointing out how Catholics, as a group, I suppose, are foolish idiots? No, I won't. First of all, because that's not what I did here. If we're being like parallel examples, what
Right,
I
so
did,
What's the topic of concern?
cheap intellectual superiority.
Do Catholics have cheap intellectual superiority?
Some of them do.
Do some woke people have cheap intellectual superiority?
Some of them do.
So why are they the topic in the video and not
Those are the
Catholics?
group that I thought about.
Why?
It just was one of the
Random
first ones that I
sentence
thought
generator.
about.
This is the bullshit. This is where you're stopping your thoughts.
I don't. What do you mean by random sentence generator?
What I mean is that you are proposing a completely it's one of a few things, right? But what I can see is that either you have no ability to introspect into your own psychology and understand why you went with that option, right? Or there is some kind of random mechanism that is just generating, woke people out of the ether, and we're supposed to believe that that is what's going on in your mind that pulled woke people just out of there. And if we give it another spin, it might be Catholics next time. I mean, that's clearly just untrue. There is an unwillingness to probe or challenge Catholics in the same way.
Do you consider
what
yourself
you're saying is a lie?
a woke leftist?
I consider
this
myself
why-
woke, but I'm a conservative. This is
Okay. So
Actually,
I'm trying to.
I should have asked you what my beliefs were first, because again, you made several predictions about what my political views were. In
And
the
I would
video,
like to
which were all
know, and
incorrect.
I mean, I want to know why I've struck a nerve here. I don't know. I'm
Because
I'm
I've just
shadowboxing
spent
here
an-
because I don't know what
because
I'm
I've just
actually
spent an
responding
hour
to.
listening to you misinterpret every single thing that I'm saying, and every time that I've said to you that's not what I'm saying, you even
Okay.
said, "Oh, I'm not misinterpreting you." I'm like, I'm the person who said that, and I just heard you try to explain what I was saying, and I'm telling
Okay.
you that was a misrepresentation. And then even then, at that point, you say that's not a misrepresentation. Of course, that's a misrepresentation. Like, you're not the authority on that, just as I'm not the authority on whether or not I can't tell you that I'm not misrepresenting you. If you say I'm misrepresenting you, I have to listen to you and find out how, right? I can't say, no, I actually am. And then you go, oh yeah, you're right. Now I feel okay with that.
Okay, how am I misrepresenting you then? What are
Okay.
your actual views?
Sure. So I think that this video that you produced, the reason why you chose woke leftists and conspiracy theorists is because for the American audience that you're dealing with, right, I think that you're very MAGA and Trump sympathetic. I think that that's been quite clear from various views that you've expressed and ways that you've responded to contemporary events in America. I think that's also clear, by the way, from the way that you didn't directly answer that question about what you think of the Pope's direct condemnation of US policies and Trump and MAGA. Actually, multiple popes' direct condemnation. You have not supported or advocated that. You have always hedged your bets around those claims and instead expressed support for those cultural
Can I
views that are
cut in
supported
here
by
because
MAGA.
since
Sure.
you're describing what I'm saying, it offered me an attempt to clarify what I'm saying. I didn't know what he was referring. This commenter, I'm assuming he commented on your video, says, "What are your actual views? I wonder what this guy's opinions are on the Pope's recent comments." Recent comments is very general. I don't know what recent comments he's referring to. Does he mean like this past week, yesterday, last month?
He
a
means
couple
this
months
past
ago?
week. He means
Okay,
this
great. Like I'm not.
How
privy to
can
that.
I understand
I'm not
that?
privy to
Yeah.
that.
Okay,
I'm not privy to
that's
that.
fine.
I've not seen any of that in the news. So
Okay.
it would have been nice if he had been more specific, and I made a
fair
reply to that. I would love to see what you're saying, and then I even offered to invite him on the show, and I was like, "Come on, and you can go line by line. I'll give you my opinion on this if that's what you want." So it's not like I'm trying to avoid or dodge anything. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about.
Do you think that the MAGA's policies are anti-Catholic?
Which policies?
Cutting USAID and condemning millions of babies to death for 0.01% of US GDP.
I'll tell you right now, I'm very sympathetic to them, to the people who got affected by cutting USAID because my wife worked for USAID. So
Sure, but what about the babies?
She lost her job.
Okay.
What about them? Who's dying?
Thousands of babies a day.
Okay,
There will be
where are the
millions
statistics
of
on that?
people. There's a tracker on pepfar.org. We know how much HIV medication was being dispensed per day by PEPFAR, which was one of the USAID programs, right? Is that just hypothetically in a magical universe, right? Because I know that it will be very difficult and we'll get bogged down. If this is true, would that be anti-Catholic?
I don't know what you mean by anti-Catholic.
Out of line with Catholic social teaching, a great evil.
According to Catholic social teaching, it's not the state's job necessarily to provide Catholic.
No, that's not the question, though.
Humanitarian care.
if
It's
the
Catholic's job,
If
but it's
the
not necessarily the
0.1%
state's job. Sorry.
If the 0.1% of tax revenues, the richest country on earth, was providing millions of people with HIV medication, preventing their death, right? And then someone came in and took that away, and then increased spending on defense when they already had the largest defense budget in the world.
Right.
Is that in line or out of line with Catholic social teaching? So it's not them establishing the policy; it's just them.
Let's
continuing funding.
suppose in this hypothetical that the state is somehow beholden to Catholic teaching, which I don't think it is. Right?
It doesn't matter.
Like,
In line or out, just answer the question, please.
and I don't think that the Catholic
Can you
teaching
just
is
answer the
for the
question?
state. No, I am answering the question. I don't
Yes
think
or no,
that
then. In line or out of line? Those are the
it's
answers.
not
Or don't
a yes
know.
or no question.
We'll say don't know. You can have don't know, in line, out of line. Those are the options.
Now you're like policing my speech here, Nathan. I'm trying to
No,
answer
that's
your
right.
question.
I'm using
I'm
my
trying to
free
answer your
speech.
question.
Well, are you trying to take away my free speech and my ability to say these things? That
You
I
had
want
asked
to
me a
say?
question, and
I asked you a
it's
question. You didn't answer it. You dodged it. In line,
I'm
out of line.
in the
don't
process of answering it.
know. No, you're not. You're in the process
Not to
of
your
dodging it.
satisfaction. No,
Yes,
I'm
not to my. You're right. I don't want it dodged. So answer the question.
okay.
My satisfaction would be you answering it. I've given you the options: in line, out of line, don't know. Can you remember the question? Have you succeeded in muddying the waters sufficiently?
I don't think those are the only three options for an answer. Let's say four options if the fourth option is to dodge it.
So you're taking dodge.
I think there's a fifth option here, Nathan.
I don't.
Would you
care.
like to hear it?
No.
Okay, you don't want to hear. Okay, next question then.
Okay. So you can't answer whether or not you think it's bad
not
that
true.
millions of babies will die. Yeah, it is true. It's true. You are so indoctrinated.
No, okay, if that's the question, then yeah,
MAGA.
I do think it's bad.
Okay,
if that's
great,
your question,
good.
but you changed the question. Your question earlier was about Catholic
No,
social teaching, whether it's
I know,
consistent
and it was implied.
or whether it's anti-Catholic.
You are one
something. No,
slimy
no.
fuck. You are slimy
What
as
are
fuck.
why are you? Excuse me.
Because you are
I beg your
dishonest
pardon.
with yourself. Beg my
I
pardon.
beg your pardon.
Bitch. Shut the fuck up. I don't care about you begging my pardon. You know, toot my pipe.
Nathan, if the question is
Simple,
it bad
You can't answer it
that
because
children
you
die?
are all over the
Obviously,
place.
yes, it's bad.
Well, why couldn't you say that before? Because you are all wrapped up in justifying why you want to suck Trump's
That
cock.
wasn't the question originally.
It's all right. No, it's okay. Don't worry. It's idiots like you that would be marching people off to the camp in the Nazis. You'd be going,
Oh,
oh
my
well,
goodness.
actually, here's what Saint Thomas
Okay.
has to say. The Catholic Church. Well, actually, it's all very polite debate. Why can't you fucking just think clearly? There are people dying. You are in the richest country, working a privileged job as a philosopher, right? And all you've got
you
to
want
say
to know
is,
how much I
can't
make?
even bring myself
You want to know
to
how
think.
much I make a year?
You make a hell of a lot more than the people who have nothing and are starving.
I really doubt I do, dude. You have no idea how much I make.
Okay, well, sell some of those fucking books behind you.
Okay. Nathan, where's all this
You
anger
rich-
coming from?
Because I've sat through an hour of listening to your hypocrisy and idiocy.
An hour of me trying to defend myself, which I don't know.
Well, maybe do it with some integrity and honesty.
I'm just trying to recenter here. I don't know what nerve I hit, right? And I don't know how I lost charity and goodwill in your eyes. I have no idea. I still think of you as a congenial friend, and not personal friend that we charming with in person or anything. But if I met you in person, I would absolutely shake your hand. I'd be friends with you, right? So I don't see this as personal at all. I'm just trying to gain some clarity here. So I'm not saying this to take a moral high ground or anything like that. I mean, this is genuine. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to answer your questions. I think that
if you were to try to explain why I'm frustrated, how would you do it?
I've struck a nerve. That's all I know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. So I'm asking you now. I'm asking you to try and explain, like try and think, maybe deploy a little bit of reasoning and empathy to try and figure out what might have made me frustrated. I'm sure.
I think perhaps, and this is all a guess. This is all speculation because I have no idea. Right?
I know.
I'm asking you. I don't have no idea, but I have no absolute clarity on this. So I wish I did. I hope that I will. But my guess, speculatively, is that I've struck a nerve because I've misrepresented you. You've said that, so that's not speculation. And perhaps I've misrepresented the groups that I was talking about in that video. Is that fair? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think there's one additional thing, but I wouldn't expect you to be able to get the additional thing, to be fair. So yeah, that's right. So you were
What's
able
the additional thing?
The additional thing is that I really dislike when I see people being hypocritical and engaging in self-justification and rationalization because of how much I care about intellectual virtues. When I see people doing that, when I see people spiraling off onto tangent, when there's a criticism and I see people engage in spiraling off from the point and raising a million things so they can't even focus on what the criticism was, I see that as an exact description of the mechanisms of cognitive dissonance. And when I see it multiple times in a row, it drives me insane because I just want people to get clear and to realize when they're wrong and be able to move on, rather than us having to spend hours therapizing people so they can focus and not have to just deal with their psychological vices, basically.
Okay, I in no way have denied that I have psychological or intellectual or moral vices. Like I'm human just like anybody else.
I'm not
right?
saying
and
that's
I'm
not
also,
what I said.
I try to be open to when I am wrong, and I try to answer questions in the best way I know how. I can't read your mind, and I know sometimes
I'm not asking you to read my mind.
Well, Lord knows I can't do it, and I'm sometimes I understand. Like I impatiently want somebody to answer the question the way I want them to do it, or the way I expect them to do it, or whatever. Like
no, I just
understand that frustration.
Stop deflecting. I just want you to stop deflecting, which is what you keep doing.
I don't. Is it that? What do you understand deflection to be? Because I don't think I was deflecting. I was getting to the point. Maybe circuitously, sure.
You're getting away from the point.
I wasn't allowed to finish, so how would we ever know?
Because within 3 sentences, you've got further and further away and raised.
Would you like to retry?
Okay, so why did you make that video?
Because I wanted to talk about cheap intellectual superiority.
And why did you choose the groups that you chose?
I thought the line of questioning that really bugged you was that I wasn't able to answer the question about USAID and anti-Catholic.
So why did you choose the title that you chose?
Why are we doing this again? This is not the thing that got you
Can you
to
see?
get very angry.
Okay, so pause. What's happened?
I'm getting frustrated
No.
because I answered these very directly. This wasn't the point at which you got upset with me. These are the ones I answered very directly.
No, you did not.
Okay, let's retry then.
This entire interaction is around that question that I'm asking.
Why did I make the video?
So
I wanted to talk about cheap intellectual superiority.
okay, why was the title of the video focusing on woke people? And
Would you be?
conspiracy theorists?
I wonder. Would you be asking me these
stop.
questions
Derek, stop. Answer the question. There was a question.
Okay,
do not deflect.
I will give you 5 questions and then I get to ask my own. Is that fair?
Okay.
That's pretty unbalanced. I think
Well,
5 questions and then I get to talk.
Sure,
Go ahead.
Sure, but me repeating the same question does not count as a
Number 1
separate
question. Go.
Me asking the same question does not count as a separate question. Okay, if I have to repeat the same question because you don't answer it, that's not a separate question.
I agree to the ground rules. What's the first question?
Why did you choose as the title woke people and conspiracy theorists?
Because those were the first 2 groups I thought of that exhibit this intellectual vice.
Okay, why were those the first groups that you thought of?
Because they had recently been on my mind.
This is why you're gaming this thing now, right? Which is really frustrating because you're giving these non-answers to try and run down the clock of the question.
Would you like me to unpack? I'm trying to be really precise here, but if you'd like, I'm not trying to be circuitous, but would you like more information about why they're recently on my mind?
Obviously, yes.
Well, then ask that. That could be your third question.
So okay, without changing the topic, without talking about irrelevant things, but answering on the question as you have done for these previous 2 questions, can you unpack your psychological process in as much detail as possible around why it's been on your mind about those groups and why you thought of raising those groups?
Conspiracy theorists first. I thought of them because I have 5 people close to me. 4 in my family, 1 a close friend, all of whom are conspiracy theorists. Woke leftists, so-called, I chose them because of recent events in the news. Would you like to know more? This can be your 4th question. I think that's probably absolutely a Charlie Kirk, somebody says here. Yeah. Now, by saying yes to this, does this mean that I blame woke leftists for Charlie Kirk's assassination? Not necessarily, right? But this has been the rhetoric and the upsurge of discussion. I mean, it's not a secret that this is on people's mind. So that has been the catalyst for me thinking about woke leftists as a group. Did you have another question?
I'm still the same question. I'm just waiting for you to actually complete your answer.
You can ask a follow-up. This could be 3.5. I think we're still on 3.
It's okay. I'm just going to wait for you to answer.
What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for you to develop powers of introspection.
I mean, that's a little demeaning, Nathan.
I know. I agree.
So what is it I'm missing? Point it out to me. Look, I'm
Powers
trying to be a little...
introspection.
Okay, what am I not introspecting upon?
The questions I've asked.
What am I not introspecting upon? What would you like me to hit upon? What's the object here of my introspection?
Yourself.
I mean, I think
introspection.
Let me say this. I think that you're expecting me to say something and you think is present in my mind. And you just said that I can't read your mind. You certainly can't read mine,
No,
and yet
it's
you're
because you've
supposing that
given
you
me
can.
a
So
finite
I don't.
number of questions, and you're giving these non-answers in response to them. And I know that by the time I hit 5 questions, you'll go, haha, you've asked your 5 questions, and now...
So you're worried. You get as many questions as you want, Nathan. I mean, this is for clarity.
It's not that I'm worried.
just
You created a stupid game, and I chose to play the game just to get you to answer and stop deflecting.
Have I deflected in these? Let's just narrow the scope of this question since you've been asking questions. Have I deflected at all?
I think
I've tried to be as direct and precise as possible.
I think that omission is a form of deflection, yes. I think it would have been possible to give all of the information that took 10 minutes to extract out of you in 20 seconds in response to the first question. I mean, I would do that myself. If someone asked me, right, if someone was genuinely curious, why did I make a video? I could reflect on all of the circumstances involved and my memories and, you know, broader causal things that are a part of broader causal sociological things that might be a part of what's going on that would be causing me to think those things, right? I wouldn't just say, oh, because stuff, it was on my mind because it was on my mind. Okay, because there were people close to me like that. It was on my mind. Okay.
If I offer more here, I risk the danger of being charged with deflecting and being more circuitous and not answering, dodging the question and so on. So
depends on if
I have to strike.
Just give relevant points.
For it to be to your satisfaction, I have to strike this really precarious balance between being really direct, really direct, and then also offering enough information. So I mean, this is a fine line I have to walk.
It's very easy. It's very easy. Like with most people with comprehension skills above those of a very young child, it is very easy to get them to give relevant points.
So let's get back to the questions then. You want to know why it was on my mind?
Yes.
And I told you, recent events. One of which is Charlie Kirk.
I want to know why you chose this as opposed to any other headline, any other...
Because... why is this not a satisfying answer? Those were the ones that were on my mind because of recent events and because people were close to me. Why else do people think about things or talk about things or strike up conversations about things? Why would I strike up a conversation about Yeti if I'm not thought about Yeti or it's not appeared to me? Or like this goes back to like David Hume's like ideas by similarity and by proximity and so on. Like I thought of these because they were things that were on my mind recently.
Are there people close to you who are also Catholics?
Yeah.
Are there more people close to you who are Catholics or more people close to you who are woke?
More people close to me who are woke. You find that hard to believe?
I do, yeah.
I'm the only Catholic in my family, dude.
Okay, fair enough.
Like please, like express some charity here.
If you extended it beyond your family to like your friendship group, how about then?
I have a lot of friends who are woke.
But like, could you just try and quantify that a bit, maybe? Like why, you know, like what are the ratios, for example?
I mean, among friends who are Catholic, let's say, maybe...
Yeah, so I'm going to say...
Maybe 25%?
So 25% of like your friends are Catholic?
Maybe, yeah.
And how many of your friends are woke?
I don't know. I don't know everyone's political views.
Mm.
I think it would be higher than 25%, though. I really do, including my family, my friends. Yeah.
Do you remember giving?
Close to me. Yeah.
Do you remember at the point where I criticized the amorphous nature of the woke label, and you said that you were actually being very rigorous with it and applying it only to very specific types of left-wing politics?
Yep.
Are you applying that standard when you think about how many of your friends are woke, or are you kind of going to... Okay, so could you give some examples of what sorts of things you're referring to?
You don't believe me. Like, what is this with the lack of charity?
No, I think I believe you that you believe that. I think you just haven't thought about it.
So I have to prove it now that these people, like, do you want their names and addresses?
I just want
you
you
need their
to
phone
think about
numbers.
it. I just want you to think about it actually instead. I want
I
neither
am
of those
thinking.
things.
What is it?
Well then we can just answer the question, can't we? If that's what we're doing and we're fine with it.
So, what was the question again?
Yeah. Do you know why you forgot the question? Because you tried to deflect again, and you were so desperate on trying to deflect that you didn't pay attention to it. So the question was, what are the specific sorts of policies that you're considering are woke that are also the sorts of things that your friends believe?
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't actually know if they're woke or not.
I mean, I assume. I mean, who you self-describe as woke?
Yeah.
How many people do you know self-describe as woke?
None.
So one person.
0. Only myself.
Just you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they would self-describe as woke.
Right. But that doesn't matter, does it?
So you're asking how I use the label.
Yeah, I'm asking you what kind of policies they believe that you consider to be woke. I'm not asking you, do they consider themselves to be woke?
I don't know. I only know. I don't know every position they take on every policy.
So you don't.
I don't know
every.
Excuse me. I don't know every position on every policy. I do know that they exhibit characteristic beliefs about the left that are pretty far left. That's it. Now, it's a vagueness issue too. It's like, how many people do you know with beards? It's just like asking how many people do you know with beards? It's like, well, I know a lot of people with big beards. I know a lot of people that kind of have a beard. It's like, I mean, it's a little bit unfair of a question. It's like, well, if I say only the people with big beards, and you'll be like, well, that's not that many, is it? And if I say, well, if I include all the people that kind of look like a beard, well, that's not using the term accurately, is it? It's a vagueness question.
No. Stop retreating to vagueness paradoxes in philosophy to try and escape from something very simple. With respect to beards, we know what beards are. And we can
look, if we had membership inclusion, it'd be really easy to tell, but we don't. There's not precision on here, so I'm giving you an estimate.
Okay, a very simple question: true or false? You know what woke is.
False.
Okay, so why are you using the word?
Why do I use any words? Do I know what existentialism is? I have a grasp of it. Do I know what postmodernism? I have a grasp of it, but they're notoriously difficult to define. I think anybody would admit to that. So why am I being attacked on this?
Because I'm not asking you for an essentialist definition.
So a definition by membership inclusion then?
No.
Because people don't self-identify then.
So do you make videos that you're completely uninformed about and put no research into them?
No.
So why did you make this video about woke if you have no idea what woke is?
I didn't say I have no idea what it is.
So if you have some idea what woke is, what is that idea?
I think I've already answered this question, but I'll answer it again to your satisfaction. Hopefully, I think that it's more far left. I think that the corollary would be alt-right, far right.
No, that's not an answer. You're telling me that there is a spectrum along which you can place these positions. I'm asking you to actually give a characterization of the views. What views make someone woke?
But beliefs within the far left obviously are going to be LGBT rights, immigration rights.
Rights to be in a relationship of the same sex? Like, what do you mean rights? Right to not be persecuted? What kind of right?
Like, is this what the issue is, Nathan?
No, it's not. Don't go on this Frank Turek bullshit, right? I know how you're like, oh, I've got it now. What the point I'm making is to get you to think clearly about this, right? So
I'm glad you're teaching me. You're being very pedantic, to be frank with you.
Well, you've earned it, frankly. So,
I don't think I have. I think I answered to the best of my ability, and I'm still being criticized for it.
So to stop deflecting again, right? Let's get back on point. So with respect to rights, what do you mean? Let's be clear. You mean a right. So you think that saying that gay people shouldn't be persecuted legally for being gay makes someone woke?
Absolutely not. That's a bipartisan issue.
Well, then give an actual example of something. Like gay rights
all gender restrooms. That's something I mentioned with a visual in my video.
Like as in if you just make one in your house, or as in you think they legally should exist? What are you saying that you think that people like businesses shouldn't be allowed to have an all gender restroom in their office if they want one?
No,
Like, the
they can
state
have
should stop
that.
Well,
No.
what are you saying?
But I
then?
think
Let's make it
probably
clear
in public K through 12 public schools, having an all gender restroom with no divider, and just kids can walk in there, no matter if they're boy or
Right.
girl. They're just walking there, and they
So if someone thinks it's so,
like this
what
is
do you say
happening in Virginia right now.
And is it active support or saying that that's okay? So if someone says that's okay, they're woke.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and these friends of yours who are Catholic, they say that's okay.
I agree with Itta here. I've been caught out by a Witchfinder General here, but let's keep going. Well, I missed the question. Go ahead, Nathan.
It's all right. It's not the first time. So these friends of yours who they think it's okay, and this is your issue. You think they're woke because they think it's okay for there to be an all-gender restroom.
I mean, let's be specific about what I mean by all-gender restroom, right?
Sure.
It refers to the open, basically no partitions in a public restroom, not just a one-seater you can lock the door. All right, we're talking about, multiple seats in there, and anybody can go in, and anybody can see. It's
what are you
publicly
saying?
accessible.
Yeah, so
in a
so
K
you're
through
saying,
12 class, in a
Right.
K through 12 school.
so you're saying urinals for having a poo. What are you saying? What are you saying? You're saying no dividers? You're saying there's like a big pit that everyone stands around and shits in, looking at each other's dicks.
Or changing rooms. Changing rooms, right? This is another
No,
example.
no. Let's not switch the topic. Let's stay on the actual topic specifically.
If this isn't a
with
topic to your
bathrooms.
satisfaction, let's switch the topic.
No, you're switching
mean-
it because you know that you've actually just not thought about this and that you've not got a point. So now you're like, oh, it gets easier if I go changing rooms because then it's easier for me to prey on people's bigotries around the idea.
Wow,
that there's, like,
Judy, why is this
predators staring
why does this make someone a bigot if they don't want a open partition all genders
because you're
welcome restroom?
I'll tell you why it's bigotry, because you're hysterical about something you can't even describe. I'm asking you, specify the construction of this bathroom, and you don't have a fucking clue.
I just did.
pathetic. No, you didn't. So I gave you the question: is it urinals? Is it a big pit everyone shits in? What is it?
I mean, are we talking about? Are we trying to design a bathroom now?
Yes. What is the bathroom that you're so?
Let me
upset
look
about?
up. I can try to find the
don't-
recent article
'cause
that's
I
on my
can-
mind that shows you the schema of this bathroom, if that's what you would like.
Okay, sure. Let's have a look at the schema of this
See if I can
definitely
find it.
real bathroom. Yeah, and now you go like Breitbart.com. Please give me some fake news bathroom that no one ever proposed. That was never like this is just ridiculous. And if it turns out that all you can find are going to be like weird, low quality right wing rags, that there's no actual journalism about the
I
sources.
love
of
how
these
you're
actual bathrooms.
couching here. It's
Right?
terrific.
So is there anything you could see that will make you say, you're right, I actually just hadn't thought about this issue and it's actually just a non-issue? If there was privacy in the bathrooms, would you be fine with it?
Yes, yeah, because that's the central issue.
Okay.
Like, this is why we need open discussion and not
So why did
cornering
you say
people. And this
Well,
is
why
why we
did
need
you-
open discussion, not cornering people into saying you must admit that you're wrong. Like, that's
So
not
why-
necessary, Nathan.
Well, I'm not doing that. I'm asking you to just be clear.
You
and
just did do
failed
that.
all along the way. So why did you say unisex bathrooms as opposed to bathrooms without any privacy?
Because they're not usually called bathrooms without any privacy, are they?
So are you in favor of it being gender segregated bathrooms where there's no privacy?
Whatever it takes to get privacy, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. So
That's the central issue.
Yes, just to be clear, yes or no, you are fine with an all-female bathroom if there's no dividers or privacy, so all the girls can look at each other while they're going to the toilet.
Probably not. No.
Right. So the issue
Again,
has
didn't I-
nothing to do.
Didn't
with
I just say it's a privacy issue?
You did. So the issue has. So it's.
Okay.
Why are you even mentioning?
So it's more than
gender?
just. In addition to the privacy issue, it's also the
What's
problem
gender
if,
got to do with it?
if
Why
it's
is gender an
if
issue?
it's if there's somebody who goes into the bathroom and it's meant for multiple people, but there's only 2 people in there and nobody else can see what they're doing, then that can be a danger. So it's not merely a privacy issue, it's also a safety issue.
Thank you. So you've reiterated that it's about privacy, right? So
And security.
Right, but these are the relevant points. The relevant points are dividers and not the gender. Why is gender
That's fine.
an issue?
Like, look, do you have unisex bathrooms in the UK?
They're everywhere. No one cares.
I know in
It's
some
just
countries
not an
they do.
issue.
I know in
You know,
some
I
countries
even
they
have
do.
one in my house, both men and women.
Yeah, okay,
shit in
that's
my
a talking
toilet.
point. That's a talking point. Cool.
It's
yeah,
not a
I know.
talking point. It's not a
Yeah,
talking point. It's
okay,
literally
in the
true.
privacy of
It
your home,
points out
every bathroom
the
is unisex.
idiocy.
Sure.
Yeah, it points out the idiocy
In the
of
United
this
States, have you ever
this
been to the United
platform.
States?
No,
Okay, in the United States,
and I never will
most
be able to because of
by
your
the
fascist government,
vast
by the way.
majority
Because I'm being
of
critical of this idiocy online, I can't get a fucking visa to your stupid country because of your fascist government.
I
Like,
wish you could,
support.
honestly.
No, I can't.
No.
Do you know why? I literally can't because they will look at my social media and not let me in. I can't go to my friend's wedding that I'm the best man at because of people like you voting for fascism, you moron.
I don't vote for. Didn't you hear me? I've never voted for a Republican in my life. Where does so the vast majority of public bathrooms in the U.S. are separated by gender. They've always been that way for as long as we've been around, like as long as we've had public bathrooms, right? The only exception to this is like newer models and then porta potties. That's it. Those are the only ones that are unisex, and then of course the privacy of your own home. So I can understand why
It's
you
just not
don't
true.
see.
It's literally
Excuse
not
me?
true. It's literally not true. Give me statistics or shut up.
I've lived here my whole life.
Oh, so you've seen every toilet in America?
No,
Like
I'm going off my own experience.
Who gives a fuck?
Have
I
I-
don't give a. Do I give a shit about your experience? No. Give me statistics.
Why are you
or
here
shut-
talking to me then?
Because I thought that you. Were
I asked
someone
about your
who was
experience in the
reasonable.
UK.
Yeah, but I don't care about my experience for figuring out what proportion of bathrooms are unisex. That's not good enough.
So
for figuring
is
out
it that you
how
don't?
many there are.
Is it that you don't believe me when I say most public
No,
bathrooms in the U.S. are separated by
it's
gender?
because-
Is you just don't believe me? Am I lying to you?
Because I have done high school level statistics. I understand that your individual experience in a nation of 300 plus million people is not representative for finding out what proportion,
Correct.
what kinds of bathrooms there are.
Correct.
Don't condescend me when you're the one who's relying on that inference, you idiot.
I gave an example of my anecdotal experience, but feel free to look up statistics and disagree with it.
Yeah, but your anecdotal experience is completely worthless in that regard. It just doesn't matter.
It's not completely worthless.
irrelevant.
It's one
It is.
datum. It's one datum.
It's completely worthless. It doesn't matter. It doesn't move the dial in any way at all. It doesn't matter.
So when I asked you about public restrooms in the UK, your opinion was completely worthless?
yes, it doesn't matter if we.
Okay,
care
why'd
about
you answer the
figuring
way
out-
you did? Why'd they answer the way you did?
Because
Like,
it
I'm
was
not
giving
complaining
you
about how
answers.
you answered. I'm not complaining about you answering, and yet you're doing it with me. I don't understand.
Because I didn't ask you, give me your experience of bathrooms. You're making an argument based off of I've only experienced gendered bathrooms. Therefore, little Brit, let me tell you as an American what it's like in America because you've not got a clue. You were trying to pull that move. That's the shitty argument you were making.
Okay, here's what I can say. In my anecdotal experience, if we just limit the scope to that, all right, I've traveled overseas. I've traveled in Europe. I've traveled in Asia. I've traveled in Central America and all over the United States. Anytime I see bathrooms split by gender, they're usually in the United States. Almost every public bathroom that I've been
don't
to in
care.
the United States, for what it's worth, has been split by gender.
Cool. And how many? Like, can you tell us about the consistency of the poos you took?
That's irrelevant. I'm telling you what's relevant.
I know. I agree. We agree. It's irrelevant.
Okay, next topic. Because I don't think this was the central concern that you had.
No, the central concern is why did you call the video what you called it?
Because it was on my mind at the time. Are you looking for me to say that I have some secret hatred against conspiracy theorists and woke leftists?
No, I'm looking for you to identify your own bias.
Which is what? That I don't like woke leftists?
You tell me. You tell me.
I don't like the radical left. I also don't like the radical right. I also, not the people therein. I have no problem. I don't know.
Jesus
I can't.
Christ.
I'd have to talk about particular people, but also, I don't like it anytime I see this vice anywhere.
What about, what about like the people of Guatemala? Just because you left them out, you did. Just because people might suspect that you dislike the people of Guatemala, because there are a lot of people that you apologized on behalf of there, and I just don't want anyone to get the wrong impression because you left out the people.
Yes,
of Guatemala.
Nathan, the people of Guatemala as well.
Are they
If that
included?
matters to you.
What about
Yes,
Madagascar?
absolutely. Madagascar too. Anybody else?
Even Madagascan Muslims?
For sure. Yeah. Why is this
Okay.
relevant?
Good question. That is a bloody good question. Why were you telling me about all these? Oh yeah, I don't like it on that, but yeah, I don't like it on the right as well. Look, I didn't ask you that. Just answer the sodding question,
Because I think that group is particularly conducive to cultivating this vice.
What videos have you made criticizing MAGA?
None so far.
Will you criticize? Right. Will you criticize them? On
But
the
if I'm
basis-
probably going to get this blowback when I make videos about them.
Yeah, because it's all about your feelings, right?
Am I
You don't-
going
who
to get
cares
this
about that?
blowback from you? Am I going to
Who
get this
cares about
blowback from
that?
you? When I make a video about Catholics with the intellectual
No,
vice, am I going to get
because
the
you know
blowback
what?
from you?
No, because I actually think that you should be opposing fascism in your country, but I think you're so brain rotted that you can't even see it. I think you're simping for it, and you've got
There's-
the blinkers on.
I'm sorry. You're using fascism as this kind of dog whistle here in a
Nope.
calling card. What the hell do you mean by fascism?
By fascism, I mean...
Is there
an
fascism in your
authoritarian-
country?
No.
When you can get arrested for saying something online?
How,
That's
what
not
are the rank-
fascistic.
Who is higher on the free speech index? UK or
You
US?
allege
Answer the
that
question, Derek. Shut
you
the fuck up.
allege
Derek,
that
shut
it's
your
the
fucking mouth and
UK.
answer the question. It is the UK.
UK is what you allege.
It is the UK.
I would like to know who did that data. And
Our world
on
in
what
data.
basis are they
Those
making the
data,
judgment?
Those data.
You can't get arrested for something
Our
you
world
say
in data.
online here in the US. You can in the UK.
Who is higher on the freedom of press index, US or UK?
I could probably guess you're going to say the UK.
Obviously. Why do you not know these things?
Because you're here to tell me them.
Why do you not care about what the evidence has to say?
Like I said, I just said that I would care to see the data on this.
But you already dismissed the methodology. Can you tell me about what is wrong in the methodology because you already dismissed it out of hand?
I don't know what's wrong, if anything, with
I know,
methodology.
exactly. So now pin that to your fucking brain and go and look at the data.
I'm sorry?
Pin that sentence you just gave in your brain and go and look at the data. The sentence that says, I don't know about the methodology. Go and read the conclusions. And as your cognitive dissonance starts
I'll do a
whirring, you
video
go,
on it.
The methodology
I'll do a
is
video
bad.
on it. Are you going to come and lambast me for that video I make on that then?
It depends if it's as shit as the previous one.
Oh, okay. Well then, what is the problem you have with the video that I made?
Well, first off,
Why is it
just
shit?
trash? It is trash, right? There is no substantive point in there. It is complete trash.
No substantive point, even though in your reaction videos you said, "Oh, that's actually
It's-
right. I agree with that." At some point, at least one point, you said that.
Yeah,
No,
I
that's
can
trash.
agree-
Though you
I-
said the
I
whole
can-
thing. Okay,
I can
okay,
ag- I can
okay.
agree
Well, then
with
be
slop
honest.
trash videos,
Be
right?
honest.
Right? I can agree with stuff that's slop, right? I can watch slop when I'm bored.
Why was it slop?
Because you wanted to just say, boo, woke people bad, and then you
Nope,
wanted to go,
didn't say that.
I'm here with
Nope, didn't say
Catholicism."
that.
Well, what, you look that fucking dumb.
I'm sorry if you inferred something that I didn't say. I never said that.
Okay,
And
I'm
in fact,
sorry for
I
you
went to
inferring a bunch of
lengths.
things I didn't say.
I went to lengths. To dispel that notion, both here and in the comments of that video, and in the video itself.
Not more than 10 minutes, the video. So, what lens did you? Could you give me an example of these lenses?
I gave you in the comments. Would you like to see where I made that comment? I can share screen here. Let
in
me
the
do that.
video, I want to know in the video where you went to these lengths.
Let's go back to this.
How about in your actual video that you just claimed? you
I'm
went
giving
to lengths?
timestamps that I gave in this comment right
Okay.
here.
Okay.
These timestamps refer to my original video. I say on the
Sure.
one hand, on the other hand. That's
That-
distinguishing. That's keeping
that's not
distinct. I say,
that's not
would you like
length.
me to? Do you mind if I finish? I would like to say.
I do mind, because you can say on the one hand, on the other hand.
I also said across various ideological spectrums. I also said the noble goals of self-justice, social justice. I didn't say anything about conspiracy theorists having noble goals. I didn't make any concessions to their point whatsoever. That would suggest that they are distinct groups. And then when making the leap to talk about conspiracy theories, I said that I would pivot to a seemingly opposite phenomenon. So Nathan has now left because I have muted him because he kept talking over me. Unfortunately, you're welcome to come back on any time, Nathan. I'm really sorry that you left. So all that to say is that I did go to lengths, not only in the comments to my own video, not only in the comments to Nathan's video, not only in this live stream that anybody can go back and watch, and I made it in the original video, and that's proof right there. So I went to lengths to keep them distinct. I went to lengths to not call out woke leftists as being woke, qua woke. There's a Thomistic term for you, qua woke leftists. What leftists, qua woke leftists. I never called them out just for being woke leftists. I said, here's a group that exhibit this particular vice. All right, let's look at what else I said here since we're on it. I also said in that comment right here, I said, I both emphatically deny it now. What do I deny? I said up here, I never make the claim that these two groups ever overlap. Nathan said, I absolutely imply it. So for clarity's sake, I tried to make sure that I was actually being heard, right? Anytime somebody misunderstands them, give them an opportunity to clarify. I tried that here. So I tried saying, I both emphatically deny it now, denying that the two groups ever overlap, because that was the whole title of his video. Moreover, reject the notion that I ever implied it. And then right here, I give an example of the fallacy of undistributed murder. Murderers break the law, tax evaders break the law, therefore tax evaders are murderers. I never make that claim. I never say that, and that was the whole point of my video, is to say that, hey, woke leftists do this vice. Conspiracy theorists do this vice. I never said now they're both the same thing, right? And we can even go further. Woke leftists do this vice. And then notice right here, I never said woke leftists do this vice. I never made the claim that all woke leftists do this vice, right? And I even clarified that in the comments to my own video. I never said that all woke leftists exhibit this vice, right? But I think that is a particularly apt example to use when talking about the vice, right? Just like conspiracy. I think it's very telling and unfortunate that Nathan didn't, unfortunately, come in defense of conspiracy theorists. Like, so why is that? Feel free to come back on unless you're going to go. Maybe you'll do your own live stream or something. But all right, well, I'm glad there's more people here. And okay. Oh well, thanks, wife. Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, hey, Mike. So I saw that too. I think what he was wanting was an admission from me, and there's nothing to admit. You know, I think that that's a group that particularly is susceptible to this vice. I think the conspiracy theorists is a group that is particularly susceptible to the vice. Do I think that all people within either of those groups exhibit this vice? No. Like, I don't know how much more emphatic I can be about that. So, I don't know what you want. I think he was wanting me to say something like, oh, I chose woke leftists because I don't like them or something like that. And now I have a bias and that's why I picked them and they're terrible. I wouldn't say that because I don't think that. Like, why would I say something? And then he's wanting to say, oh, well, you need to be honest. You need to introspect. You need to be honest and say, apparently he's trying to read my mind and make me say something he thinks is in my mind that's not in my mind. I'm not going to say something that I don't believe. So I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it. And Nathan, if I ever see you back on, there's absolutely no hard feelings for me, absolutely whatsoever. I'm not using this. This video is not to trash you. This video is for clarifying. It's for understanding. It's for trying to clarify my own position. I brought you on maybe a little too late. Sorry, I apologize for that. I should have brought you on earlier. Because apparently what I was saying was engendering more confusion. but I brought you on and we talked through some things. I know there's some heated emotion. That's fine, man. I don't become not friends with somebody. I don't end friendships over just emotional disagreements. Like, and I don't think you do either. So this, although maybe perhaps a bump in an online friendship, I don't see this as like a breaking or a riff or something like that. So, yeah, so you're always welcome back on, Nathan. And I don't think any less of you. And this was actually, for what it's worth, I think it was a very enlivening discussion. But these are the discussions we need to be having. Like, why would I just talk with people who agree with me? You know, and another point is like, why do I include this? Is because I think it's a stark example to use in comparison with conspiracy theorists, because for the very fact that they're not the same group of people, like I was able to say, hey, here's a group here, here's a different group here, and it's both the same phenomenon. I think that's a fair, like, if you're thinking pedagogy, if you're thinking explanatory things, then I think that would be a very great way forward. So, yeah, why would I say, oh, it happens in Catholics and also happens in these other Catholics? You're going to come away with a thought, well, I guess it only happens with Catholics. Like, no, the whole point was to show that it happens across, as I said, various ideological spectrums. So, yeah, it right there. So, it's ironic. I don't know if this would have helped, but I did cut a portion early on in the video where I say, what did I say? I said, two distinct or disparate groups. Like I say that in the very beginning, but I cut that because I was like, I just want to get to the point. I don't want people to get, lose interest or whatever. So I did cut that portion. Maybe I should, in hindsight, maybe I should have left it in, but I don't know if it would have made any difference, to be honest with you, because there are these other instances of me trying to keep them distinct and show everybody. So yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, Mike says here, complaints about clickbait are crazy. Yeah, if you know anything about getting people to actually watch, so you got to play the big game, the algorithm game. Yeah, it is frustrating because Veritasium, I think it's either Vsauce or Veritasium, both big channels, both great channels. I think it was Veritasium had this really great video on clickbait, and he's like, there's different schools of thoughts on clickbait, and he says, you want to be clickbaity, that's like information, but not clickbaity in a derogatory or bad negative sense, in the sense that it's like just bait and switch, just like fooling people. So you want to be kind of on edge where you're in perhaps a little provocative, which is what I did clearly, and effectively apparently, and then also a little bit giving a bit of a carrot, to draw people in, and then but also informative enough. But again, like, you can't be too overly informative and like title. He does science videos, so he's like, on the such and such law of thermo blah 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 blah, and he's like, nobody's going to click on that. But if you have a video that says, I threw a basketball off of this dam, like, oh, I'm going to click on that. I may not even know what the science law is called. So this is just practical pedagogy. It's just a matter of, getting people to talk. Yeah, clickbait can be a good thing. Yeah, it worked with me. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, look, this is the stuff we live in. Honestly, it's the world we live in. I mean, it's just like advertising. You want to be responsible with it, of course. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to fool people or yeah, there was one bad one, Cameron Bertuzzi. Actually, Nathan, his background is Cameron Bertuzzi's his house or library or office or whatever. So it's kind of ironic there, but he made one, I'm Facebook friends with him as well. And a lot of people razzed him for this, but he made a clickbait video that said, I'm leaving. Like that was on the thumbnail, that was on the title. It's just, I'm leaving. And then you click on it. He's like, I'm leaving for a trip. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, that's obviously like a cheap, terrible way to get your people to click. So you want to use it responsibly, but yeah, good question here. You do this every week. Yeah, I do this every week. I don't usually do a reaction video. Perhaps I should maybe consider doing more. But this one was kind of a one-off, considering the topic of it. I had released a video, the original video here. I'll show you guys. The original video here was released on Monday, I believe. And then Nathan had, yeah, here we go. I'll switch to this tab. So the original video is right here. Doesn't even have that many views, 125. It's not that many, right? So the original video is right here. I released that 3 days ago, or Monday or so, Monday, Tuesday. And it generated interest. And my normal live stream time, just by the way, for anybody, is on Wednesdays, 4:30 to 7 Eastern time in the US. And that's like, you can see that over here, by the way, if you're wondering. Since you asked, I'll show you. It's usually these, right? So all these, like Let's Talk Philosophy office hours, those are going to be my bread and butter that I really kind of just talk on. So, but this, I do the highly produced, scripted, you know, really well edited, I hope well edited videos here that I put a lot of time and energy to. This was one I released at the beginning of the week, and then we talked about it Wednesday. I saw Nathan's video. Somebody mentioned, oh, he's got a video. And so I was like, well, okay, well, maybe I'll reply. And so I did get in the comments with Nathan on his video. He never commented on my video. That's okay. But yeah, I did get in the comments on his and try to clarify some things, but we just, we just didn't get around to. So this is my wife. Maybe she's a little biased in saying this about me. She loves me, but it is also very telling also, because she is somebody who sees me on a day-to-day basis. The first person acknowledges his own bias. He's frank about that. Ask him on the next live stream. Yeah. And thanks, Mike. Yeah, we're winding down here, so this is a good reminder anyway. I know what my wife's doing. She's watching this, but she might need help or something with dinner or something there. But yeah, so we are winding down. I'll close here in a second, but this is a great reminder. Thanks, Mike. Mike is actually my brother-in-law. Go look at his stuff. Also, Make Good Mike. You can find his channel. Mike, if you drop a comment under this for anybody who's still listening, we got a lot of people listening and watching, then that can, I don't know if people watching the live chat, they can like click on your picture and then go to your profile. But if, you know, you wanted to leave a comment or something after it posts, then that'd be good. So yeah, so definitely give it a thumbs up, share, like this video, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And then, yeah, so we're going to stop it there. And, unfortunately we didn't get to watch the whole thing on Nathan's, but I encourage you to go watch it. Look, I have no bad blood with Nathan, despite what this may have suggested. I hope he feels the same about me. And yeah, so definitely go watch his video. I think he has a lot of things to say. A lot of them are good. Some of them I disagree with. You know, that's why I was doing this. And yeah, all good things for him. And hope he comes back, you know, or maybe we'll collaborate in the future. So, all right, guys. Thanks. See you later. And make sure you look out for my next video coming at the beginning of the week. And then also be there for my next live stream, which should be on Wednesday, again, 4:30 to 7 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. So, all right. Take care, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.